Make sure we're live here. All right, here we go. Okay, welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is Open Chat number 70, Black Fatherhood and the Fourth Industrial Revolution. And I'm joined by one of our Black Brain Trust contributors and compatriots, Johnny Blaze. What's going on, man? Top of the morning to you.
Hey, good morning, the complex. How's everything going on the West Coast?
Man, good, man. Just up. Got some coffee here, and I know you was telling me you had to get your grits on earlier.
Well, I ended up having a peanut butter jelly sandwich, some hot chocolate, and some snow peas.
What kind of alternative was that to grits, man? You were like, "Hey, man, I'm gonna go make some grits real quick," and I'll find out you didn't have like a peanut butter sandwich. Oh man!
Hey, look,
all right,
I'm getting all the food groups minus the meat.
Are you doing the vegan thing?
No, I eat meat, man.
Wait, was it literally just something where it was like, man, what do I have around?
I don't know why. I ran downstairs. I'm looking at the time. I'm like, okay, what's quick? Because I started boiling the water, but I ended up using that for the hot chocolate. And so I said, you know what? I'll just make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Haven't had one. Then I looked in the refrigerator. Oh, I got snow peas. Perfect.
Snow peas. That's what I was trying to figure out where the snow peas came from, man.
And I love. Okay, so a few months back, remember we kept having all these issues with these E. coli things with lettuce and spinach.
Yeah, from like places like Trader Joe's and stuff.
Right. So what I started doing, I figured, let me find an alternative vegetable. So I found snow peas, snap peas, and arugula.
Okay.
And so those are the main ones I eat now. Because right now I have not heard any issues with any of those three vegetables.
Yeah. I'm a big spinach and kale dude.
Yeah.
Have you heard anything about this? Because I literally just ate like a whole thing of spinach like over the last 2 days.
Spinach, not lately. I know lettuce is real hard.
Yeah, usually it's always like spinach and lettuce.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, man. Well, check this out, man. This is something you and I, man, we've actually been chopping it up back and forth about for a bit, doing a live stream, to kind of talk about, just what our experiences of fatherhood is like at this particular, period of time.
Right.
I would say when we usually hear, like, in this Black YouTube sector, we hear conversations about fatherhood. It's usually kind of from a deficiency standpoint.
Right.
When we're always hearing these conversations, man, it's always either about what we're not doing, where we're lacking, all these different things, right, that point to deficiencies, right? But what about when you are the parent? Right, like our situation, right? Where it's us, and for those of y'all who don't know, Johnny Blaze and I shares a similar experience in that we're both widowers. Okay, so for us, we've had a bit of a different experience with fatherhood, given that you've encountered a situation where you become the default parent. And that other parent is no longer there, right? So now it doesn't even become about deficiencies anymore. It becomes about maximization. Like, okay, how do I best do this? Right? I mean, would you say that was your experience?
I mean, for me, my experience, this was, like you, my wife was also ill, and passing away. But you say maximizing it. That's something you really got to look at. Okay, what do I have available, to me right now? What are my physical resources? What are my mental resources? What am I good at? What am I? I have to find my strengths and weaknesses. Now, I know what I'm very strong in, and those things were fine. But the things I was lacking, I really had to either, learn how to get better or seek guidance from other people.
Right.
or go to professionals.
Right. Right. I mean, that's kind of what I found too, man. It was like real quickly, I had to real quickly, man. I had to basically cover for my deficiencies.
Yeah,
Real quickly, I was kind of thrust into a situation where I couldn't like use my deficiencies as they couldn't be an excuse, right, for
exactly.
underperformance, right? I couldn't always just be like, oh, well, I'm like this, so if it doesn't happen, you can't do that anymore, right? Because you're not just living for yourself.
And this is one thing I look at. You may have parents who divorce, and they
Hmm.
kind of ping things off each other,
Yep.
particularly. But people like us, we don't have that option,
Right.
right?
Right. That's where that's where I'm like, you kind of you have to become that default.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'll say, one thing that I figured out, man, was start doing like short term and long term planning.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
that was one of my biggest things. And just to kind of give it a little bit of backstory, I'll just tell a little bit about me and my wife. We met back in 1990, late 1994. We got married in 95. We dated for about 8, 9 months.
Hmm.
And we both met in the military. I'd been in the military about 4 years at that time. She had been in about a year, going on a year. My wife ended up getting out the military a few years later due to medical reasons, and our daughter was born in the year 2000.
Okay.
So I'm still active duty. We're living all over the country, moving around. Then in 2012, my wife passes. My daughter's 12 years old at this point.
Hmm.
Okay, so now fast forward to now, my daughter's now 20, and my daughter is also a child with special needs. So,
Okay.
so that makes it even more complicated from my
Wow.
view, the things I had to deal with.
Ooh.
Yeah, but I will say this: I during the time I was married, um, my wife taught me a lot of things, particularly about cooking, because I was not really a good cook.
Hmm.
So I did pick
Yeah.
up a lot of habits from her. I remember, and I would pay attention to certain things with her. Now, when it came to money and whatnot, as a young man, I was initially not very good with money. I got into some financial issues before I
Hmm.
got married, but I learned from that. So I saw how she did certain things when it came to the bills. She was very good at checking every single month how things were. So that's a habit I picked up from her. I check, my finances every single month. See what's coming in, what's going out.
Right.
You know.
Man, that's literally that literally is my experience, man, mirrored.
Mhm.
I couldn't really cook until her and I got together, right? And literally remember where she was legit like, you're gonna start making stuff more than me because your cooking is better than mine. And I was just like, what? What are you talking about? And she's just like, no, you've learned how to make this stuff and you make it better. Like your food tastes better than mine. Like that was her opinion.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But I didn't know how to do that stuff, man, until, I got into a situation where, you know, that's what we were doing. I'd come home from work, man, and make sure I stopped and got like whatever she wanted to get from the store, and a bottle of wine, and get in and crack the bottles, cook and talk, and and the same with finances, because when she was in college, she actually was a part of the first group of people that got the credit union established. It's a black owned credit union that I now bank at. Like all of our estate banking is done through them, right?
Mhm.
And I mean, even this the reason why I'm on a name to name first name basis with the president there, because when I had called them and I just said, yeah, I needed to send this document over to you because Rosie had passed, and dude, lady just dropped the phone, and I just heard her just start bawling in the background. Everybody was just like, oh my god.
Wow.
Right. So it's one of those things where, you know, um, because our finances were tied up in there, she knew a lot about budgeting and stuff, because again, she was there working there when they were just starting, man. So I like just going through that process of establishing an estate and forming our union and setting things up right, I mean, I got like the right mind on how all of this works. Right? How when everybody talks to generational wealth, yeah, you gotta set this stuff up.
Oh, absolutely, man.
You know what I mean? You gotta set it up, man. And like when you have somebody by your side who has those attributes, man, that not only you describe, but seemingly, my dear Rosie had. I mean, we see how it's made us better, competent men, especially given what we've had to do after their passing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we have a you put together a bit of an outline, man.
Yeah.
We want to kind of touch these points.
Sure. I made a little outline in no particular order. These just things that kind of came to my head. But I think as a single parent, and more so probably as a single father, these are some of the things that you have to deal with. So I had 5 points that I thought were important to me. Number one, first one I have on is school issues. You got to deal with the school and your child and their education.
Now, when you say school issues, man, what comes to my mind, man. And I want maybe I don't know if this is something you were gonna maybe springboard off of, but the one thing that stood out, man, was when when the kids will start asking, Almeida, where's your mom?
Yes.
I mean, that's like I was gonna say, I know you've kind of been through that one, right?
Yeah, been through that. But also it's the teachers,
okay.
Because a lot of times when I would come to the school to do things, they'll see me and they're looking like, okay, where's your wife? Or, where's the mother? And like, no. Because that would be the one thing that they would always ask. They're very surprised to see a Black father here by himself.
Right. Man, I had that experience with my daughter's second grade teacher last year. His Latino brother, who used to be California Highway Patrol.
Right.
And, he got into teaching because he got into an accident, working, and crushed his leg. So, he's got 2 daughters himself. And, when I had my first parent teacher conference with him,
right.
It was one of those things where, my daughter went to Montessori for the first 3 years. So she's just like, dude, like miles ahead of everybody. And so when he and I got to talking, he was kind of like just noticing, my daughter's a little reserved.
Right.
You know what I mean? She kind of has I don't want to call it a stoic presence, but she's very observant. So she doesn't really say much oftentimes. And then once you get to talk, she'll warm up. And so he was kind of asking me about her. And then I told him, I said, well, dude, my wife passed away, man. She was 3. And he just looked at me and he was like, you're doing an amazing job, bro. And then I was just like, and then it all made sense to him. Because then he was just like, dude, she's like literally she's like, it's her and there's just another young boy. She's like, they're the top students in my class. And he goes, now what you're telling me, he's like, it makes sense, man. He's like, she's bored. You know what I mean? She went to Montessori for 3 years, dude, and then came here and like she was learning this stuff when she was 5. And I was like, yeah, it's just work situations kind of had me relocate to a different area and so I had to put her in a different school, and this is where we are. Okay. And so he was like, okay, so then now that he got more of a feel of what our situation was, man, it would be things where he would just text me, man, like just, hey man, just checking in, just man to man, like, dude, because I got 2 daughters and I'm married. Right. So he's like, you got 1 and it's just you in this situation. He goes, and I see what your daughter's doing in my class, man. Look, dude, I just want to let you know I support you. I was like, damn, man, like, and plus you don't really even encounter male teachers like that anymore.
No, you don't. Now, so when my wife passed, we were living in South Carolina. So from there, we left, went to Florida, stayed there for a few years, then went to out west to Vegas for a few years, then to Virginia. So my daughters went to a bunch of different schools, and Now, I will say one thing: the teachers will definitely comment on. She has a very nice personality. She's very respectful with all of her teachers.
Yeah.
Um, Now, because my daughter's special needs, she didn't always make friends very well. That's probably been her one weakness
Okay.
that we really tried to work on with that. But always being polite, being respectful to the teachers, the other students. They always made that comment that that's one thing I instilled in her was definitely to be respectful and try to get along with everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I find my little one, man, she's basically like a carbon copy clone of her mom, man. So much so to the point where it scares the hell out of me sometimes. So I'm just like, damn, did you just kind of just go back into her? And then, you know what I mean? Because literally everything she does is like a mirror of her mom, dude. So I try to kind of go with that spirit, man. And as a single father, as best as I can. And I find that the school issues have more to do not with her capabilities, but
Yep.
it's the socialization, man.
Right.
That's really where that I found like where the school issues were, if there
Yeah.
were any.
Now, I mean, one of the things now that my daughter's graduated, we were looking at college. Now, this is where we kind of ran into, I won't say issues, but we had a kind of a little division between father and daughter here. Like, what do you want to do?
Uh-huh.
And we try to plan out the best thing that we think is going to be the best thing for our child. Um, Now, I don't know about your particular situation. I think your daughter's what, like 9, 10?
She's 9, yeah.
Yeah. So at some point, hopefully, she'll figure out what she'll find. She'll want to do something that she likes, but that's also going to sustain her at the same time. And this is where, my daughter and I were trying to go round and round. Look, I want you to do something that you like, but you also got to look at, you have to make an income.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of where what I've done here is hold on, give me just 1 second. Somebody's asking for my channel. I just want to drop it in here. Let's see here. There we go. Somebody's asking. Okay, cool. I appreciate you, New. Appreciate you, any of you. All right, yeah. Any of you just dropped it. All right, cool. Appreciate you. Okay. What I try to do, man, is I try to be a model for her, right? In terms of like, if you're gonna pursue a passion or an interest,
right,
make a business out of it.
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's already in her head, right? That's already in her head, right? Like I have a company I set up for her, and really, it's to let her experiment, is to do different things, right? So then she can kind of find her way and then settle in on something. And that's what I set it up for. Right. It's for her she wanted to do like makeup and cosmetics and stuff like that. So I bought some stuff and, she made some stuff and it's kind of like, it was like, oh, okay, I did it. And yeah, okay. But then she sees me being real techie and stuff. Right. And she's always had an affinity to it. So I think she's more starting to adapt to it because she's just like a grab, start the computer. She typed like 40 words a minute and just watch her do stuff. And then she looks at things like mechanical keyboards and different types of switches to build them and cool keycaps. And, she's kind of like she's artsy and then techie at the same time. And all I'm trying to do is just organically develop it. You know what I mean? Because, and this really is just sort of like the cornerstone, the basis of why we're having this conversation, right? Because of where we're going into the future.
Right. Actually, I listened to you a few weeks ago. You were talking about the whole typing thing. And because you were saying that, I ended up going and I had my daughter start doing typing tests. So I decided to do one with her. And man, this kid blew me out the water.
She kicked your ass, didn't she? My daughter kicks my ass, dude.
I'm averaging about 28 words a minute.
Dude, I'm at like 35. She's clipping 41.
Yeah, my daughter's doing 40, almost 50. My mother was a personnelist in the Army. My mother can do about 100.
Yeah. I mean, she's going to get there by like 13. I'm going to tell you, dude, like the smartphone shit screwed my typing up.
Yeah.
I'm all thumb based and I never thought I'd get there. It's crazy. And my daughter's just like, Daddy, I watched this.
but
With
I
96%, dude, my bad. She did a test like 2 days ago.
okay.
She clipped like 39 words a minute. Accuracy was like 96%.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I type almost every day.
I do too. I'm literally typing right now. I'm telling Gold Professor, appreciate you. And it took me a whole minute to type it.
I'm
All
like,
right.
man,
What's what was the like the next point that hold on, let me see. Because we had school issues. Wait, was there anything else you wanted to cover with the school issues?
well, I think the school just really just working with the kids to like really hone their interest, but still balance it with realistic goals. You know, um, that's my probably my biggest takeaway is you know let them explore what they want, but still set realistic boundaries
Yep.
and realistic expectations.
Yeah. 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 And I think the best way, I think even just going forward now, because so many platforms and things that we all use have a monetization
Yep.
feature in it.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like that's why I kind of just have this business for her, and it's just like whatever wherever whatever it is that you're trying to do, there's going to be some sort of monetization mechanism, right? And
Yep.
there's got to be then something to funnel it through. So if she knows that she has a business, she has a bank account, and she saves money and all this, like this is stuff that's already going on in her head. So all I want to do is just kind of just push it right along.
So that's one thing I definitely did. Got her an account.
Hmm.
She gets like her monthly allowance. So, and she knows what things she has to pay for. She's also
Right.
got a savings account. Because right now, I also want to teach her. Now, this is the long term planning here. Is about money long term.
Yeah.
Hey, this is what a stock is. This is an investment account. This is the kind of money that you don't touch.
Hmm. Yeah, I showed my little one how I was using Robinhood to make money. Right. And I mean, I have the Robinhood account set up for her, like, but of course she's not the one logging here doing stuff, but I'm
Right.
showing her like, okay, I took $20, I put it over here and, got this out of it, or look, it just went down. So, I lost a couple bucks today, but I'm gonna leave it there because, I'm still above this right here. So, you know what I mean? Just kind of explaining those things to her, all the little nuances, as much as she can kind of process it for 9 years old, which is she can process quite a bit, surprisingly.
Okay. Now, I think one thing also about children is if we teach them not to start valuing a lot of superficial stuff. Now,
Hmm.
I'm actually kind of fortunate in that regard, man, because my daughter's I think her special needs somewhat. She's not into a lot of like niche stuff.
Hmm.
Designer clothes and bag. She has no that stuff. Doesn't interest her whatsoever.
Yeah, my daughter tends to. She's into more like big ticket items. So,
Now, okay,
she- lately, dude, like she's just been like, okay, because I need to get a new car, right?
okay,
Because my truck was stolen earlier, so I have like an older vehicle that I was driving around that my younger brother had. It's just been in the family forever. So put some money into it, got it all running and stuff, and that's what we've been driving around in. But turn of the year, need to get something.
hmm,
I mean, man, she's on some like Mercedes G wagon.
oh,
Yeah, yeah, because she likes okay. Because and when it's not just because it's a Mercedes, like she's looking at the technical specifications, dude. Like I'll come in my room and she'll be on the gaming computer and she has the screen up, and she'll have the G wagon there. She's looking inside. Dad, look at it has full panoramic, LED display. Like it's like one big touch tablet. Dad, look at this, and then look at the engine and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, you like this legit because of the technical details of it.
but that's you because you like that kind of.
Yeah, but that's what I'm like. Okay, okay, I see, and I can appreciate the fact that she sees value in things.
You
right?
know,
So it's not superficial. Oh, because it's just a lot of money. She's just like, this is a nice car. She literally goes on Bloomberg.
okay,
What's it? No, no, Business Insider, and she watches that series called So Expensive.
right.
Why things are so expensive.
But now you've probably found, okay, what traits that she's going to pick up from you. For instance, I love to watch anime. My daughter loves anime,
Yep.
and we can discuss anime, for
Yeah.
hours. You know,
Yeah.
now I'll take her to some of the older stuff I watched back in, the 70s and 80s, and we'll kind of compare and contrast. But I think one of the things my daughter she's been trying to do is maybe develop her own like anime series. She's in there working on her drawing. Like you said, big ticket items. My daughter
Yep.
wants all the high end software.
Yep. Yep.
All the Adobe suites, the Apple stuff.
Yep. All the I think there's an app. There's an app I bought her. It's called Procreate, where you can.
Yes,
Yeah, that's an app that's for iOS. I think it is. Oh, it might be for Mac OS too. I'm not sure, but yeah, you could do the animations in it, create all those
yes.
like animations and all that cartoons, and so I mean, yeah, man, that's where the education piece totally does come into play.
Yeah.
Now, the the next part you got is the dating thing.
Oh man.
Yeah. You know what? It's interesting because people talk about this all the damn time around in these spaces, right? But
you
they
know,
talk about it from just a like a like a cultural,
right.
right?
But I think you got to
What's
look at
what's what's the angle that you? Because yeah, you said like child parent dating. I mean, what's
it.
the angle you're taking on this?
So I'm looking at it from both perspectives. Okay, so you're dating as a parent, but your child at some point is going to start dating as well.
Holy shit, dude. Okay, yeah, that's a whole different angle.
And us as parents, man, we really have to think about that perspective.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, you know, what who is your child going to bring home? Who is your child going to go out there and seek out? Because whether we believe it or not, our children do emulate a lot of the things that we do.
Oh yeah, they do.
We if we don't do a what I call a real self-reflection, you know, our child is going to take on some of those traits and they're going to start going out here and they're going to date. Now, whether you have a son, whether you have a daughter, at some point you should have, some influence in your child's dating standards.
I've been starting early.
Early. Because you also want to look at your child's friends, but that dating aspect goes beyond just a mere friendship. So that was I didn't think about it too much, but my child, she did start hanging around a bunch of people and she did try the little dating thing here and there for a little bit. And
Hmm.
when and there was some heartbreak here. And,
Hmm.
this is where, the dad's softer side has really got to come in to a degree and say, okay, let's sit down, let's have a conversation, let's talk about, was the person right for you? Were you right for them? And look at it honestly. Hey, not just that person did everything wrong. Did you maybe do some things wrong as well? But you have to move forward from this. You're going to have some heartbreak. And I think this is where a parent can like be honest and talk about their dating, at that particular age as well. When you were back in high school, how things went, did you get your heart broken here and there? And it's going to be okay.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
What I try to do, man, is the first thing, because it's like you said, there's that short term and then long term, right?
Mhm.
So the short term, what I've tried to really do is sort of like impress upon her environment, right? So I try to really sort of immerse her in what her father does, because a father should be a girl's first imprint,
Yeah.
right? So it's really I really tried to like embed in her, which really wasn't difficult right early on, because early on it was me, her, and her mom,
Right.
and she kind of she saw all three of us. Give me just a second, okay?
No problem.
All right, my bad. Little
No
one.
problem.
Yeah, little one. So she's like, "What are we having for breakfast?" But she just went back to sleep.
Okay.
um, yeah, so I try to impress upon her, man, like, trying to immerse her into, kind of what a man's world is like early on.
Yeah.
So I mean, I got so many videos, dude, of her with me. I get like on YouTube, man, like just in the pits, early on when I was really running a karting team. Uh,
Hmm.
during 20 this was 2016 and 2017. Okay, that was when I was literally for those 2 years, I was like full time running a karting operation. And she was in the shop with me to the point, man, where like I would be like, babe, you're getting oil and stuff on your clothes. And then she get these skin rashes, and I'm like, oh my God, okay, I can't have you around this stuff. But she would not, like not want to not be around me, right? And it's even the same, man, to this day. She just needs to kind of be around. Now, she doesn't like the track as much anymore,
Okay.
right? That's kind of like blowing her now. That kind of stuff's like, okay, I've been here for like an hour and a half, and all right, this is getting boring, right? So she is kind of growing out of that a little bit, but she's then she's growing into the tech part.
Yeah.
So now I've got the gaming rig, I got my sim rig, the driving, and now it's like she's getting immersed into that. And I find her watching tech reviews by Marcus Brownlee.
Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah. Because the thing is, she's a huge EV and Tesla person, right? She wants I think the Model Y, the
Oh yeah.
new
Hmm.
small SUV. Yeah, that's kind of what we're aiming to try and get. And
Well,
so
I got a Model S, man, and I love it.
I know you got the Model S, man. I need I need some little smaller just because of just space and stuff. And I think Model Y is kind of like perfect.
Yeah, that's what I'm actually considering as my next vehicle is the Model Y.
There's a Model Y. Yeah, I'm really I like either the Model 3 or the Model Y. Either one. I like the smaller Tesla.
Yeah.
Either one, man. So that's kind of where we're aiming in on. That's where all the other cars she just started deep diving in the cars because she's into this Tesla thing. And so there's she's a big fan of Lewis Hamilton, you know. So I'm trying to impress upon her sort of like the image, the certain image
Hmm.
of black
Has
men
she
early
watched?
on.
Have you shown her Rich Rebuilds?
Yep, yep, yep. Dude, she knows all of them. Jeremy Fielding, the
Yeah.
dude who does all like CNC fabrication, and he does electrical engineering and stuff like that. Let me see who else. She does Rich
Now,
Rebuilds.
it's interesting that you say this because those, the more and more she watches people like that, particularly men like that, those will hopefully will be the kind of people that she will be attracted to.
That's what I mean. That's what it is. It is. That's how it works, man. It's you got to imprint. That's the imprint. Because look, what do you typically hear, right? In conversations, just like, well, the women didn't know what type of dudes to look for,
Right.
right? Like no one really kind of told them what to look for, right? See, so what I do is since early on, since she's been immersed in what
Right.
I do, what I then start to do is I start to show her other examples,
Hmm.
right? And then she starts to get a feel. Okay, wait, so these are the kind of guys that are like my dad,
Yes.
right? And so that's what gets impressed upon her. So she's not going to want to talk about a dude who can't talk about mechanical keyboards,
Hmm.
right? You're right, because that's a thing that she's into, like the cool headphones. Like, dude, her stuff is going on websites like drop.com and looking at all like the cool. She's just into high-end shit. It's so weird. She's the perfect mix of me and her mom, dude. It's incredible.
That's great. Now, only thing with that is just keep the bad influences out, and of course, as a parent, as the dad, that's your job. Okay,
Yep.
and but also teach her how to spot those who are going to be bad influences.
Oh yeah.
Early.
Oh yeah. No, I do. We kind of like so I'll do things just sort of like like if we go to the grocery store, I'll just be like, babe, why are his pants down?
Mhm.
Right? Like
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
ask
Oh,
her in
man.
in a way where I'm implying that it's ridiculous.
Right.
Right? And so she'll look, and I'm getting her to actually critically think about the question I'm asking her. but I give it a tone of like, how ridiculous, right? And then she'll just kind of like, she's like, I don't know, but that's not how his pants are supposed to be. You don't wear yours like that.
Right.
Perfect answer. Like,
You know, we like my daughter and I, you know, we'll drive around a lot and we'll see folks doing that, you know, now that she's older. And we'll kind of spot it out and like, you know, what's the point behind that? You know,
yeah,
so, or you know, she'll see a lot of how the young ladies dress and, you know, very inappropriately. And, you know, she's like, I'm not wearing any of that stuff.
yeah.
Or, you know, it's the way she talks. My daughter doesn't use any slang. You know, she uses basic words, you know, straight English.
Man, yeah, man. Oh, snap. I got to give a big salute to Dr. Phoenix.
Oh,
Top of the morning to you, brother. What's going on with you? Engineering Cannabis, welcome. Wait, you know, man, we just been chopping. Let me check the chat real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we got Engineering Cannabis. Sir Abadayu, what's going on, brothers? Welcome. Captain Cisco, learning every day. Oh, he had a question. Where do I start as far as getting my 1-year-old into tech? I would say this, man. I would. People can be split on this, right? Some people say don't give the kids tech too early.
I'm kind of split. You know,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say 2008. I got my first MacBook,
Mm-hmm.
and the only reason I got it is because I ended up getting a virus on my Windows. But I say maybe about 6 months, maybe a year. I had it. My daughter was playing around on it, and I caught her like at 5 a.m, you know, on this thing, you know, and I had to kind of like take it away from her, you know,
Yeah.
because she's getting up playing, you know. But I did notice a few months after that, my daughter was making her own like little videos. She would take these little toys called Littlest Pet Shop.
Mm-hmm.
And she had a camera and she was recording herself playing with these things. And she was making like little videos on the computer, adding music to it.
Hmm.
And this was back in 08, and she ended up putting it on YouTube.
Hmm.
I had so that was my first experience with YouTube was with her,
Yeah.
and this was all self taught.
And that's the thing. It's kind of like there's a delicate balance,
Yeah,
right? When we say like, you know, people are kind of split. You know, I'm kind of like a future forward person, right? So I'm sort of like, because dude, I was using a computer at 5.
okay,
Like we had an Apple IIc. I
right.
was literally taking the 5 1/4 inch floppies, putting it in, booting up the whole thing. Dude, my brothers couldn't even do it,
Mm.
right? And I was like the only kid in the house that I just start, you know what I mean? So
Right.
for me, dude, I started using the internet in 1988. You know what I mean? So like in my head, I'm like, I know kind of like how it actually benefited me to know this stuff early on.
Mm-hmm.
It's harder to learn. It's harder to because of our brains, how our brains think. When we're younger, dude, our brains are more malleable, right? We can soak in like just core concepts, things like programming languages. Like kids can just learn that shit. Adults struggle with it.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of things that she does teach me. Like I do YouTube videos. I do like funny X-ray because I'm an X-ray instructor, and I do funny videos. My daughter does a lot of the editing for me. She does the music. She puts it all together. You know, a lot of the wording because I can do it, but I realize that she's better at it, and I'm really trying to hone that unique skill for her.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But she, you know, but she's definitely got it down packed way better than I do.
Yeah, I would say what I try to do is I try to find good examples on YouTube to show her of what it is that she's trying to do, and that's typically what is feeding her creativity is right. There's the things that she has, and then I say, well, like, yeah, you mean like this channel, and then I'll show somebody who's kind of, you know, doing, you know, have cool little music playing in the background, and, you know, they're building mechanical keyboards and they're testing out different types of switches, and, you know, so then now she's learning what different type, like what a cherry MX versus a cherry red, a cherry brown, a cherry blue, a Gateron black, and all these things, right? So now she's learning all the differences between these things, and And so it's just like, okay, as long as it is a learning tool, I'm all for it. What I don't want her doing is going down the abyss of like TikTok and then getting some sort of complex because she's
Yeah.
running into like videos of like black dudes saying they prefer white chicks or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I want to keep it away from that, man.
It becomes the consumption device instead of the production device.
Production, exactly. And everything I do with all these devices, man, like what she's gotten from it is all production, man. Whether it's I get the smartphone for, test the scooters, I have the scooters for a reason, and she knows why I have all this stuff, right? So that's what I mean. Her head is oriented different around it. Now all I want to do is just kind of keep her on that, man. Just keep
Yeah.
her on that path, But I mean, as far as like um dating for like me, the parent,
Now
man,
that's
that's a whole other thing, man.
yeah.
Shit.
So, I mean, granted, I've been single a lot longer than you have, so I've had eight, almost 9 years of being single here.
Dude, I'm going on 6, man. It'll be January, will be 6 for me.
Oh wow, okay.
Yep.
I don't know if it's that long, but
Yeah.
so yeah, man. It's been a mixed bag, and I can say this, when I was newly single, I was trying to recreate what I had, and I think that was definitely the wrong thing to do.
We're creatures of habit.
Yeah.
You know.
Because I remember after her mom had passed, we were having a conversation one day, and my daughter asked me, "So, Dad, are you going to go out and get me a new get me a new mom, basically?"
Damn, dude, my daughter said the same thing to me. Like at age, one morning she woke up and I'll never forget it. She was like, "Daddy, I want a new mommy." I said, "God damn."
Yeah, and that's wow. So I thought I was the only one. That's something that you see kind of on television, but to experience it in real life,
I know
kids really do say that.
They say that shit, and you're like, dude, they don't say it just because.
Yeah,
that wasn't just some random comment that came out. Like literally, I woke her up in the morning, dude, and getting her, about to get her ready for school. It's like shoot, 5:45 in the morning. I'm getting her ready. And then she's just like kind of half asleep, giving me a hug. She's just like, "Daddy, I want a new mommy." And I was just like, "Whoa, oh, wow, man!" And this was only maybe like 2 years after. And I found out early on, man. It's like you go through shit like that. As a man, you literally have to reinvent yourself.
Yeah,
because it's sort of like if you do not reinvent yourself, like you literally may become susceptible to dying yourself.
Yeah,
that's a very real thing.
One thing I noticed is like trying to get back out in that dating market. After, I was married for 17 years, so all of my dating experience was from the 90s. I got married
from back in the day, right?
Yeah, I got married at 22 years old. Here it is now. Yeah. I'm 39, going on 40. Boom.
Dude, I mean, that's where it is the hardest thing for me right now, man. It's like, dude, I was like, man, last time I was like single, right?
Yeah.
There were no such thing as dating apps.
No.
like sometimes, dude, like I'll have conversations with women and they don't understand why I'm having a hard time.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, okay, the last time I used to like interact with women when I was like just completely single, like it was you did normal social interaction.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, you go out to a club, you meet a young lady, you have a conversation, you dance a little bit, you exchange numbers, or you meet somebody like out in the store, out and about.
I was going to say, man, record stores. I do how many chicks I picked up at a record just because I know music. It's like it was the easiest thing. Yeah. It was so easy. And it's like now, it's like Professor Black Ops said I'm 50.
Yeah, I'm 47, man.
We're 43, man. We're not that far behind you, bro. But I mean, now it's just like, dude, I got to figure out how to make the wordage right in your DM or some shit.
Yeah. Like Mark, now, we met at work. Now, I work in healthcare. There are a lot of women in healthcare, but nowadays, trying to date somebody from work is damn near impossible. Don't even think about it.
Don't even try it.
No,
Don't try it, man.
no.
Don't even. That's just. I mean, this is what I mean. This new situation now, where it's just like typically people would find like compatible people at work, for example, right? I mean, it's just like everything that used to be socially acceptable when it came to dating and shit is now a no no.
Yeah.
And so now it's like my daughter would be like, Dad, when are you gonna get a lady friend? And I'm like, as soon as I figure this fucking app out, I suppose.
So what's weird, man? I think I was doing a dating profile once, and I had some female friends of mine come. Oh no, take all this stuff out. No, do this, and this. I'm like,
Oh shit. You know how I got on the dating apps? It was my sister-in-law.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just sitting around. She called me, just check on me, talk to me and stuff. And she's like, so like, are you dating or anything? I was like, nah. So she's like, you're not getting laid or anything? I'm like, no. Like, what? No. And she's like, well, you need to be. And I was like, she's like, oh, okay, how do you propose that? And she's like, aren't you on Tinder? You know what I mean? And dude, that Tinder experiment of like 2016 or whenever it was, right?
Okay.
And it was an utter failure. But then Zero, the homie Zero basically informed me that I missed out on Tinder's heyday.
Okay.
Right. So I kind of I missed the boat on the easy sex part when it came to Tinder. And dude, it's just been an abject failure ever since. So I'm like, I don't know.
I'll tell you, man, I've done the dating apps. Man, I've been catfished about 3 times, man.
Holy shit.
Oh, man.
Really?
They'll post
That's
pictures
one of my fears about that shit. That's
dude,
why I'm like, that's why I'm so like, I don't know, man. There's just too much that could potentially happen there.
It'll be the person, but they'll post pictures of them like 10 years ago. When they were like, 40 or 50 pounds lighter than what they are now.
Man, I hear so much about that.
Or they'll just, and I didn't quite understand the whole taking pictures at different angles component.
Yeah, well, what Sole Provider Speaks calls Anglegate.
Yes.
Anglegate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. These are all new things.
Yeah.
Like you didn't have to, you know what I mean? I think the only thing you really had to like be concerned about back in the day was like, if a chick wore a lot of makeup, like what is she hiding? It used to be very simple. Or like if a chick just all of a sudden goes with red hair out of nowhere, right? Like you have to always be cautious of the chick in her red hair phase. See, that's when it was simple, but now it's because, like I said, social media, you have filters that just make people look like aliens, for example. And you're just like, what am I looking at? And what is this? What is all of this?
Okay.
So
Doc Phoenix in the chat. He says, I have a strict no fraternization with coworker policy. Absolutely, sir.
Yep. That was one of my rules, man. That's always been one of my rules, dude. When it came to the workplace, I don't date people I work with. I don't do it. Sorry, don't shit where I sleep.
Yeah.
Nope.
Now, I'm gonna ask you.
Wait a minute. There's Nagone. Top of the morning, big brother. DJ B-side, Floyd Holt. What's going on, y'all? Welcome.
So I want to ask you a question. Have you ever had this experience? I think there were 2 women I went out with just briefly, but they were like ready to move in. Like okay, yep, we're gonna do this thing. We're gonna move in. We're moving together, and then 3 months from then, we're gonna be married.
Haven't been there with it yet, man. That's not nothing like that. Not nothing like that. But damn, that happened to you?
I had one who tried that. She had a timeline already set up. Because what I think some try to do is they'll try to use the child as a mechanism to get in. Mm-hmm. Okay, they befriended my daughter really well, and then they want to work their way into a relationship.
See, the issue here with me though is that anytime like I've ever had that sort of so you really didn't get access to my daughter, right?
Yeah.
I have one friend. This was okay. It was it kind of didn't count, man, because I was a subcontractor, right?
Okay.
And I was a subcontractor under a different firm, you know. So there's somebody that I met, and I had happened to bring my daughter to the site, and so she saw my daughter there, and I think that was where she was kind of okay. This is interesting because this dude has a little chocolate daughter,
Okay.
right? And the assumption was that I dated white chicks or whatever. So that was one of those. It never turned into any dating type of thing,
Hmm.
nothing like that. But I would say that was an instance where I think someone got a peek at, you know, my little lady there and said, "Huh, interesting."
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So I had something like that,
Yeah.
something like that.
Now, I do find that a lot of women do seem to have an attraction to single fathers who have, particularly ones who are like, I won't say necessarily widows, but I have discovered that it's like when they find out that you have your sole custody of your child,
Yeah.
they do seem to be more inclined to, I guess, want to kind of get to know you.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a different type of get to know you. It's something that I'm really trying to.
Yeah.
I think now I'm starting to figure it out. Like before, I thought that like okay, you just go back to the normal like single shit, right?
Yeah.
Like the same shit that was going down when I was like in my 20s, right? So because I had those expectations, I was kind of like expecting the same shit to come my way, right?
Right.
But that actually wasn't the case because I'm like, okay, yeah, you're single again, but you're older and
Hmm.
you're a father,
Yeah.
right? So then I think what happens is that what the opposite gender oftentimes is seeking in terms of compatibility, they'll see it in say like a dude who has like sole custody of his child, right?
Yeah.
Because that looks like something that can kind of just kind of automatically work. And I think it can it just look, I don't want to delve too far into the uh general manosphere conversations
Yeah.
about the virtues of whatever, right? We're trying to really take like a higher approach here.
Absolutely.
So I mean, the reality of it is that we are single parents.
Yeah.
That's the reality.
Right. Now, because I think you and I are both older guys in our 40s.
Hmm.
One of the things I realized is, okay, I'm 39, 40 years old when this all kind of took place.
Hmm.
Now, what I told myself, I said, okay, I have a child now that's 12 years old. Okay. I knew at some point I'm going to go back out here, start dating and doing this. And I had to ask myself a couple of realistic questions. Number one, do I want to have more children? So what I from that point I came up with a little timeline for myself. I said, okay, if I don't have any more children by age 43, I'm not having any more.
Need more, yeah.
So that was my lockdown period. And during that time, I was doing some dating here and there, but I never found anyone that I could say I would want to marry and have children with. Because my thing is, my daughter was not born out of wedlock. I'm not having children with someone I'm not married to.
Right,
That,
right.
that that's just my personal rule.
Yeah, I mean, I never did it prior to,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to do it after, right?
Mhm.
Because I mean, if I was like cognizant enough to avoid those type of traps in my 20s, I damn sure ain't going
Yeah.
to do it at this stage of my life with
Yeah.
a child that I already had in the right situation. I'm not going to start fucking up and doing the
Yeah.
wrong thing because what is that? What kind of signals and messages am I sending to my daughter?
Exactly. And that
Right?
was the whole thing I was looking at. I'm like, I'm not moving anyone into my house. If we're gonna, have our little cuddle time and whatnot, usually it's late night. My daughter's going to sleep, or I'm going to your place, so we're gonna, meet at a
Yeah,
neutral location.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so because I mean, once I finally found someone who I think is worth, my daughter's time and my time, then, we can be together, but, we still gonna have separate places until we are actually, hey, either we're getting married or, this is it, we're older couple.
That's how it's got to work. And
Yeah.
it's funny because I was reading, let's see here, Yeah, Mr. Heat, he said, yeah, because he went through the same thing, like what you was
Mhm.
talking about. Them chicks
Yeah.
would just be like, "Yo, we need to get on the ball with this, right?" He
Mhm.
was saying, yeah, especially when they're successful, they don't want to waste any time.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, man, she's just like, look, I wasted all this time in my career. Now,
Yeah.
I got to get this timeline together, and it's just like, all right, but you do realize I already did the marriage and the child thing. Like, I'm
Yeah.
kind of chilling. Like, I can go super slow with this and just build this really slow.
Yeah.
Like, that's one thing that I find. Guys like us, we are on a little bit of a different timeline
Exactly.
because for
Because we've
me,
already done the
yeah.
things that they're trying to do.
Say that again.
I said we've already done the things that they're
That's
trying to do.
and that's I gotta tell you, man. That's the difficulty I'm having right there. It's almost as if it's like, dude, like the shit that we've gone through has given us PhDs in this relationship shit, and everybody else still walking around with high school diplomas.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like it, like you said, it's like we didn't already seen everything that you're coming to me try. I don't want to say demanding, but it's sort of like I've been there and done it already.
Yeah.
See, this is why I try to stay quiet on a lot of the conversation talk because a lot of
Mhm.
people who have a whole lot to say about it ain't really actually seen shit. And
No.
this is what I've noticed. And so I stay out of all of the conversations about relationship talk and all that because I'm like, well, a lot of y'all be missing a whole lot of marks on both sides of the equation. But we cover these things on the brain trust, and I'm popping my collar right now.
You
Um,
know, what's interesting, I
but
think guys like us, a lot of this stuff really, we don't have to, guys like us really don't have to get involved in those lower level comments. I
yeah,
don't
we
say
don't.
necessarily lower level, but I'm going to use a Stargate reference. I think we're on a different plane of existence here when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, no, I absolutely, man. Hold on one second here. Um, Let me see, because MOT's asking for the link. We've been going for about an hour. Do you want to go and open up now? Did you want to hit the points first, or how'd you want to do it, man?
That's up to you. I mean, we got 3 more points, and I think that they're fairly short.
Okay, MOT, let's do this, man, because we had an outline here. We're gonna go through these last 3 points on this outline, and then yeah, we'll go ahead and like I said, we'll drop the link, man. We'll open it up, man. We'll just get the chopping.
I think the third point was health.
Okay.
When it comes down to health, really more so the health of us and our child is make sure that we're taking care of ourselves, both mentally, physically. Go see your doctor on time. I remember, like, guys who have daughters, man. I remember when my daughter got her first menstrual cycle, man. I almost freaked out. We were in Walmart.
Oh, dude, wait a dude. All right,
Man,
man. All I'm gonna say is, man, I'm just, yeah, yeah.
and I'm
That's
gonna
all I'm
tell
gonna
you,
say to
man,
that, man.
when
God
it
damn,
happened, I was on the phone with every woman I knew. I mean, my
bro.
mom, my sister-in, both my
Oh my
sister-in-laws,
god,
man, my aunts. I'm like, what do I do?
bro. That's the shit I'm dreading.
Yeah.
And there's a couple I got a couple of female friends, man, on speed dial, man. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. But I will say this, man. The one thing I am making a pledge to do, especially this new year coming up, man, is to
Yeah.
really take my diet and health seriously.
Yes.
Because what I do is, man, I do a lot of like physical stuff, right?
Okay.
So I'll actually take my health for granted because I'm like, well, I'm physical. I do a lot of physical shit. I'm karting. I'm always lifting stuff and wrenching on stuff, and you know what I mean. At the same time, though, um, it's like, dude, I've been smoking weed for like a long time,
All right.
right? It's like, at a certain point, man, like the lungs start to say, like, yo, you know what I mean, and I just got to be mindful of stuff, man. Like if I want to maintain like my frame, and because, dude, I still have like my physique and everything literally from like my mid 20s.
Right.
My body hasn't really changed much, and what I do is there's been times, man, or periods where I take it for granted, and I'm like, you know what, that's gonna be the time when something happens to you.
You So some years ago, I got diagnosed with an issue that almost ended my military career. Now, luckily, we were able to resolve it, but I still have to take medication for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very cognizant of staying physically fit.
Right.
Um, Usually I do push-ups, sit-ups every morning. Try to get out here and ride my bike. I've had a few knee surgeries. I can't really run anymore,
Mhm.
but I take my medications and I keep my weight down. And so I would say I'm probably at 47 in better shape than I was at 27.
Yeah, and see, that's what I'm trying to be. In my 40s, I want to be in better shape than I was in my 20s.
Mhm.
It's going to start with me really kind of committing to a
Yeah,
plant-based diet, and that's
yeah,
really what I'm trying to do here. Like I said, man, I've had to kind of own like 43 does feel a little physically feels a little bit different.
yeah. But
Like
with
I
that, I
can,
think
yeah.
we need to keep our kids physically fit too, in good health. I make my daughter do push-ups from time to time, so she can crank out about 15.
Listen, man, it's the other way around. She's on my ass.
Yeah,
She's on my ass. Like, Daddy, what did you eat for breakfast this morning? Like, she just seen me down with like some coffee. She's like, I make her breakfast. Did you eat anything? Babe, you know what? Yeah, let me go in there and make some. Because she's just like, how come you're not eating? Like, she be on my ass, dude. Like, you need to drink some water. Like shit like that.
okay,
You look dry. You need to drink some water. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, you're right.
all right,
So, but I can't really just be like mindless about it, and
yeah,
then her just really kind of like worrying about it. Like I have to be proactive.
right,
So I consciously have to really take my health more seriously going forward, man.
okay.
Yeah.
Um, I think our next point was self-sufficiency.
Oh, okay.
Number
Yeah.
4. This is where we got to start getting these kids ready to leave the nest at some point, or if they're going to stay home, at least do something. So my biggest thing was teaching my daughter how to cook, and at least understanding how to pay some basic bills.
Right.
Because we always hit, and I hate to do this manosphere thing just for a second, but this whole independent woman thing, but fathers need to teach their daughters to be self-sufficient, but also teach our sons as well.
Let me
'Cause
ask you. I got a question for you.
sure.
Okay. I try to distinguish. What I do is I say this as a father. I say I'm raising my daughter to be a responsible adult.
Yeah,
Okay, because if I raise her to be a responsible adult, that means that she will do things responsibly as an adult. Okay,
correct.
if I raise her to be independent, okay, that's a mindset,
Yes,
right? And what I'm doing is I'm not raising her to be independent. Okay, I'm raising her to be a responsible adult. I don't want her to be independent minded. Like that's like kind of like the core of the issue with a lot of women nowadays is that
yeah,
they were raised to think in a uh because look and the type of independent mindset that they're thinking in is a masculine
right,
mindset. It's an independent mindset of establishing a foundation type of mindset, right? Like you go out on your own, you find the land, and then you clear it, build the foundation for the home, build the home, and then furnish it, kill
right.
the food, bring it back, right? Okay, dude, I don't want my daughter thinking this way.
Okay,
First and foremost, if we're talking self-sufficiency, then again, in this particular paradigm, I don't have to do that. I create a business for her.
right,
And through the years, as I through this vehicle, she's able to like express her interests in such a way where she can learn other tools and skills, things like paying bills, right? So
mhm,
let's just say if she has to pay, she starts streaming and then she has to pay her monthly StreamYard account bill or something. Okay, like that is learning how to budget, pay for things, to do things.
right,
I explain to her all the time like why we can or can't do something because I need the money to go and do these other things, or why haven't I do something? Well, I haven't had the money to do X, Y, and Z, right? So she's learned these things early on, and so yeah, the self sufficiency thing really just comes in more of like lifestyle. She's seen her dad like literally do just scrape, scrap, and grind to get all the crap that I've had, that got in the garage and all this stuff. And all through it, I had to just tell her like, I don't have the money for this right now. I got to
mhm,
get this. Okay, let me budget to get that for you in 2 weeks, and da da da. And then the 2 weeks comes, and then boom, we go and get it. So just she understands it from that angle.
I'm going to kind of flip this just for a second with this self-sufficiency piece.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to go to what I call a dependent relationship.
Hmm.
My father, love him dearly, but my father was not very self-sufficient or independent. He was more so dependent upon women. What I mean by that is when my mom and dad, they split when I was really young, and my dad, he went through a lot of crappy relationships, and until he
Hmm.
finally found one that was very decent. And they were together for many, many years. Um, Basically, she was my stepmom. She passed away, and when she did, my father pretty much lost everything. The house, my dad was living homeless,
Hmm.
and I had to get my father from one state and move him to another state to come live with me, my daughter, and my wife. Because my dad, he would work, but he's from that very, very old school. The man works, he gives the money to the woman, and she takes care of everything.
Hmm.
And with my father living with me in my late 30s, I'm realizing that all he knows how to do is just physically work, but he cannot take care of himself. He can't cook. He can just barely do laundry. He's a physical laborer. So that was a wake up call, for me with my daughter. Like, okay, let me start teaching you how to do stuff, because she has to help her grandfather. Like, hey,
Hmm.
you gonna learn how to make food for you and granddad. You gonna show granddad how to use the washing machine, how to separate clothes.
Wow.
So that, seeing my father in that state, was a wake up call for me. Like, wow, man, like you really don't understand how to do this stuff.
Yeah, and you
Now,
know what, man? That's ugh, ugh. And
mhm,
it's like I can't. I man, there's just no way. See, because it's only it's only me and her.
mhm,
There's just like I lose sleep because I there's under no circumstances could I ever fall into that type of
yeah,
situation. You know what I mean? So it's like for me, it's like I lose sleep because I'm trying to ultimately do what it was that her mother and I set out to do when her and I got together. And
mhm,
so it's like I have to, like I said, it's like a reinvention,
yeah,
and I have to rethink. I've had to rethink this whole thing, man. I've had to rethink everything, even like all the point. That's why I was like, man, the outline was really good when I read it
yeah,
because it kind of touches on all aspects of life, man. That really encompasses being a father, and particularly at this stage of the game.
yeah. And
Um, yeah.
hit the last one.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's hit the last one because I see we got Miss Nicole Ali in here. Good
Okay.
morning. We got James Keels. Good morning. MOT's there. So yeah, let's hit this last point. I'll drop
All
the
right.
link. I'm gonna go fill up on the coffee and then we can have a conversation. Or
Okay.
continue it, I should say.
Yeah, the last one is family and friends. At this point, it's good to have your family and have your friends by. But I noticed one thing during this time, they want to give you a lot of advice.
Yes.
And a
Yes.
lot of advice, it comes from a good place, but they're not really in our shoes at this point. And now some things I take in and I hear and I use. Other stuff I kind of gotta throw to the wayside. And because
Yeah.
like, and a lot of it kind of ties back into some of this whole self-sufficiency. You need to be doing X, Y, and Z. A lot of it will tie into the whole dating component. Um, just, I guess you got to pick and choose what advice you want to take and which people you want to listen to. You know,
Right. And that's kind of where you're absolutely right.
and I'm
It's
going to use an MOT thing for a second here.
okay.
Look at those friends and family who have good track records.
Right.
Like in my family, I have an older aunt and an uncle. They've been married, well over 50 years, and that is the example that I look to. Why did their marriage work where the others did not?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
or I have cousins who dated, been married multiple times, and for me, I didn't want to be one of those folks who have multiple marriages. That's not my goal.
Yeah, I mean, I was very careful to avoid that stuff, man. That's why like my first child didn't happen for me until 35.
Yeah,
And that's marriage happened at 31.
yeah.
First child happened at 35, and then I was widowed by 39 or
So
38.
okay, so you're like me. So you were married for 5 years before your child was born.
Yeah, man. Look,
Yeah,
man, I was on some get money stuff, man. I was
yeah.
like, yo, like I said, man, men, we live on a different timeline,
Yeah.
right? As far as like when we hit our marks and all that. But so it's like if I get saddled down with like the kid and marriage stuff, right, too early, when the maturity and everything else, not only for myself but for the partner, isn't there, we
Hmm.
don't have much of a chance of success.
Yeah.
If I do it later, dude, when I've taken some of the L's that I needed to take, because I took my first major business L, right, when I lost my first like 6 fig business.
Hmm.
I would have rather have taken that, dude, as a single man.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's just really what it was for me. I was just like, yo, there's certain shit I need to see in life before I start bringing another life into existence.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know. Did you have any more final thoughts on that? Because
No, man.
other than that, I'll drop the link. I'll
Go
step
for it.
away for about 2 minutes to go grab some coffee. Or what you got?
I know we're good. I'm gonna just grab something to drink myself. Yeah.
All right. So check it out, y'all. We about to go grab. We both gonna go grab some coffee. Here's the link. We'll probably just be muted up, but we got a little bit of sounds in the background, so just hang out for just a minute. We'll be right back.
Hey, Lance Powell. No, we're not over. We were just both had to run off. I think Complex. He's going to get something to drink. I just got back. Good morning, Black Torch. How you doing, sir? Mr. Heat, good morning to you. And Lance Powell, good morning. Hey, I'm good, sir. And we're just waiting on Complex to come on back in here. I think he should be back any moment. I think somebody
Dr. Phoenix. Is he there?
Good morning, brothers.
Yo,
Hey, Doc Phoenix.
how you doing, sir?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, can you
Good
guys?
morning, brothers. Yo,
Wait, you got an echo.
how you doing, sir?
Good. I got I got a little bit of time on my hands now since I'm done with exams.
Okay.
So
That's what's
So
up,
how's it
man.
going?
How did that go? How did the
I'm
exams
sorry.
go
I don't
for
know
you?
if you guys can hear me. I
Yeah,
don't know if
you're,
you think it's that
you're
kind of
coming
weird.
through.
Yeah, you're coming through. We may be on a delay for him.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm terribly sorry. I think that might have been my volume on my mic. Okay, sorry about that.
Okay.
All right, is that better?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah. I'm sorry. That
Okay.
was my fault.
All right, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
man.
just
How's it
good
going,
morning,
brother?
brothers.
We good, man. We just this was just a little live stream, man, that you know, Johnny Blaze and I we've just kind of been back and forth over doing this discussing this topic for a while, man. And so we went ahead and got some time together to get a discussion going, man, just about and we wanted to have a real one, man, a real discussion about fatherhood, you know. Not just you already know, man, like the conversations here have to be, more intellectually contextualized, right? To really look at the actual challenges of just not only just being a father, being a single father, right? Where you've got like sole custody. There's just like, Johnny Blaze, he was touching on it earlier. When your daughter's mother is there, right? And you guys can co-parent, right? See, there's things that the both of you can defer shit too. Okay. When you can't defer anything, you then become the guy to really be the one who thinks about all of those things that he put in that outline we discussed here this morning. All these things, man, you become that solo person right? To make sure that all of these things are touched on. And, and then going into the future, this is a challenge, man. It's a challenge.
Yeah. For me, like Complex says, you don't have, people to like, I mean, you can rely on friends, you can rely on family, but at the end of the day, you have ultimate responsibility.
Yep. Yep. Now I don't know if Dr. Phoenix, is your mic okay?
Yeah, my mic is fine.
Oh, okay, okay.
No,
Yeah,
I'll just let you guys finish your thoughts.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
man. What's your take on it, man?
well, I'm not a father, so I can't necessarily speak on fatherhood, but I think this is something in general that all men can relate to, is that the idea where men should make promises to themselves that you should never father children that you're not capable of providing a good life for, and more importantly, that they can have a life better than the one that you had. Again, I think we all can, point to personal mistakes that we've made over our lives, and certainly I'm younger than you too. And as someone in their 30s, again, I think it's just really incumbent upon Black men to really understand that fatherhood is the sum totality of the experiences you have in your life, and whether or not you learn from those experiences.
You know,
And I'm sorry, go ahead, bro.
no, you go ahead, finish it. I
No,
got.
no, and it was something else. It was also the comments about workplace, and that's probably one of my biggest ones, about sleeping with, having relationships and sleeping with women that you work with. I was in the military, and I'm sure Johnny Blaze can speak to this, and other brothers that were in the military can speak to this as well. But black men in particular seem to have a very big problem with not keeping things professional in the workplace.
I
Because
can agree
I've
with that.
seen too many dudes, especially when I was in the military, get caught up and hemmed up, losing rank, getting court-martialed, all kinds of craziness, just for messing around with married women, women in general in the workplace, and it never ends well in any of those situations. So just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, man. Never shit where you sleep, bro. That's always been my rule. That just I like avoiding issues if I can. you know.
Well, no, and I think that's it should just be a general rule that brothers should live by. Period. That you should never ever be fraternizing with women you work with. You shouldn't be having personal conversations. You shouldn't be doing none of that. You should keep it strictly work related. Don't make it personal. Keep it strictly business. And I think, again, because you hear all these stories, and certainly at least in this space, you've heard men talk about, how they got caught up in the workplace, and stuff like that. And it's just like, brothers have to exercise a modicum of discipline here.
Yeah. And I think also now for me, I will look at the time frame. This was like the mid 90s when this stuff, when my wife and I, when we got together, we both worked in the hospital. Now, definitely different sections, but still the hospital nonetheless. Earl Owens says CNCO and female PFC. Yeah, that ain't gonna work, man.
Man, I could go on and on about that.
Yeah, I can, but I think you're talking almost 30 years ago. So today, in this day and age, yeah, it's not going to work now. But you'd be surprised. Most relationships, at least during that time frame and earlier, men and women, they did meet at their jobs, or at least in similar professions of some sort. But what I was going to say before was, being a father and whatnot. A lot of the things that I learned, I looked at my parents and I looked at the things they did right, but I also looked at the things that my parents did wrong. And I said, I don't want to make those same mistakes that my parents did. I love them,
Yep.
but my parents definitely did a lot of things wrong. Both my mom and my dad have been married multiple times. And what I learned from that is, you really got to think about the person that you're with and who you want to have children with. And even and going further into that as a father, you have to establish a level of discipline with your child. And my mother got remarried to my stepdad, and my stepdad, he was a very hard man. He was retired military. My mother was active duty, and between the two of them was a great deal of age, a huge age gap. So living with him, he's very hard, very strict, but I did learn a lot of things from him. They eventually divorced, and my brother ended up going in a much different direction than I did. And I think it may have had to do with he lost that discipline at that crucial age where I got it. And his life went down a dark, dark spiral,
Yep.
So I don't know if you've had to deal with discipline yet with your child complex, but I know it sounds like your child, she's on an even keel because you're doing a great job as a father right now.
No issues really with discipline, man. Like I said, man, I guess I don't know if there's any issues with her, just again outside of her not having like her mother there.
Yeah.
Right. I think her issues, it's not the behavior, it's not that, it's really kind of more of a mother not being there developmental thing.
So she may not like my daughter, she's more like me. So I'm not, I guess for her, she's not really big into hair and makeup and stuff like that because I don't know anything about those kind of things.
Yeah, for me, my daughter, like I said, she's a clone of her mom, right? So her interests are the same, basically.
Yeah.
Cooking, like all the stuff she watches on like YouTube and TikTok and all that. It's like the same stuff like her mom would be into, like making things, and like I said, she's doing the mechanical keyboard thing, and wireless headphones, like but the cute ones, like pink with the little wrap or the cat ears, but like the high tech stuff. So like they're like $200. So she's kind of following that line here. Wait, hold on, let me see here. Mr. Heat's joining us here. Let me bring him on. So she's following in that line. And I just want to make sure that we kind of stay, there with it, right? I want her to stay true to her, and I just want to do the best to like develop that organic her. You know what I mean? Mr. Heat, welcome to the panel, brother.
Oh, thank you for having me up, gents. You guys can hear me? Am I borging?
No, you're good. You're good, man.
Awesome. So I'm not a father, but I can definitely speak on this regarding the not having a mom in your life. My mom passed during childbirth, giving birth to me and my twin, essentially leaving my dad with 7 kids. Wow. So yeah, there are definitely developmental issues with not having been raised by my mom or anything like that. I mean, I had a lot of mother figures, but I was having this discussion with a female friend over dinner last night, and she points it out. She points it out because she has another friend who went through a similar situation, and just not having that nurturing thing, just there's a lot of hyper independence and self-sufficiency, and it created issues in early relationships. But when the women pointed it out, I was able to consciously make the effort to make them feel included in my life and like they had a purpose. So there's definitely, and from the way you speak of her, she seems to be doing fine, but I guess as she get older, I don't know what kind of female friends or family you have in your life, but she's gonna need that softer side.
That's kind of where that's, I would say that early on I kind of projected that this would be a thing, and then in the blink of an eye, 6 years has just about passed, right? And so now she's 9. She's going into that stage where she's developing into a little lady. Now is that time that you're talking about, where that softer side, like I'm starting to see where it's like, shit, there's going to be some things here that she's going to just sort of encounter. And as a man, I've never experienced these things. Johnny Blaze gave us a very, very real example of what I'm talking about that happened to him. So,
You know,
Yeah, I
okay.
mean, even with my knowledge of dealing, my knowledge of anatomy and physiology, I don't know how I can even deal with something like that if I were a single father. I think that's
Dr. Venus is like, I'm a doctor and I don't even know.
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's just something that yeah, I don't think any man, no matter your background, would be prepared to deal with something like that. But it is something I did want to bring up because, you
Hmm.
know, for me personally, my parents they split when I was young. Um, and so, my father wasn't really around like that. And so I grew up and, as I was growing up, I was always the good student. It was actually my sister that was actually the terrible student. I was always the one that got the A's.
Mm.
And but one thing that was always kind of somewhat, something that I didn't have a lot was maybe just being a little bit more disciplined and being a bit more focused. And it was only when I went into the military that I actually meet some other black men who actually, took me under their wing and they mentored me and stuff like that, and helped me get more focused. And so, I think part of that is what happened is, at least for me, I kind of, you kind of have folks that kind of have those raw materials. They're able to be molded,
Hmm.
and they're able to be shaped or whatever. But I think for so many, especially for a lot of black men, a lot of young black males out here, they go out here into the world, and they oftentimes end up in situations where they become teenage fathers or fathers early in their lives, and then they just kind of pass on that really cyclical disease, if you will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's like once that happens, then that's just the cycle just repeated, right? Now the cycle, because that person could have been the person to actually break it.
I'm going to say something here, and it's going to kind of tie back to what Dr. Phoenix is
Hey,
talking
hey, Johnny Blaze, real quick, I'm gonna just step away, dude. I'm gonna go use the restroom real quick. I'm just gonna mute. You guys go ahead.
about. All right. So, Dr. I'm gonna, something that you mentioned is about, I guess the term I want to use is self-control and self-discipline. I think that is probably the one thing that makes a good father. You got to be able to have
Yes.
control of yourself and think about, okay, what is it that I want to do for me and then for my family? So even as a single person, it starts there. You have to have self-control, self-discipline. I mean, we hear about all this self-love and all this other, yeah, okay, yeah, fine, whatever. But if you, at the end of the day, cannot control your actions, your decisions making process, you're not going to go far in life. And you're going to end up in one of these either crap relationships, or you're going to end up with a really crappy career or no career at all. Basically becoming a bottom feeder.
No, and that's a very good point, because even in the sphere of healthcare, for example, like in nursing or in medicine, you have something that we call like a decision tree. And so basically, you look at a situation, you assess a patient, you figure out what, you kind of get an understanding of what's going on with them. And from there, you start to think about, okay, well, what is the best approach to dealing with this particular patient's problem?
Right.
And again, all of that has to be driven through a logical process of decision making, and understanding that, you know A plus B equals C, and that there's always a cause and effect here. And I think that's something that again, I think that for black males, black men in particular, black men, that you have to have this ability under all circumstances to be really just calm, and be able to make logical decisions no matter what's sitting in front of you. And I think that's one of the things that have, again, for me and my personal experience, I've always been told that, oh well, you don't seem to get nervous when you have all these things going on around you, because I've learned this early in my life, especially as a black man. You can never get unhinged, because if you do, that's where you get in trouble.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree as well, man. Um, but now, if we take that same level of thinking, and we apply it across the board, we can be we can be fairly successful individuals. I mean, obviously, you're going to medical school, complex, doing the things that he does. Mr. Heat, I'm not sure what you do. I was in the military, and now I teach college. I'm also a healthcare worker as well.
I'm a computer systems engineer.
Okay, so we all have something in common here. We all, work in very high tech fields. We're all we have some level of self discipline and self awareness here, that we're using to help propel us forward. And
And
hopefully, we're trying to take that level of knowledge and apply it to our children. And for you guys, when y'all do have children, going forward.
yeah, and I think that's always been my, at least the philosophy I've lived by in my life, is that, when I will have children when I'm ready, and I would never have children unless I was married.
Yeah,
So, and I think that, it was, that was such an important point that you had brought up earlier about, if you decide to have children again, it will only be under the condition that you were a married man. And I
yeah.
think that's something that's really just kind of missing in this, in the general conversations that, you hear out, I guess broadly, the broader conversations you hear among black males is that you're really not talking about, okay, well, you got a lot of black men out here. Yeah, they have children, but many of them are in situations where they're either not with the woman that they had children with, or, it was just one of these things you guys were just got together, messing around, and you had a oops baby.
Yeah.
And those are things that are kind of really play into this idea that, black men don't really have any discipline and self-control, and unable to control their urges. And so, you know part of having discipline is also being able to control your image.
That's one thing I think back. I got a couple cousins. They have a few kids. The whole baby mama type things. And now during this time, I was married, and now my wife and I, we decided to wait for a few years to have our child, because one thing, my wife, she had student loans. We had to pay those off. So that was our primary focus, was getting those student loans paid down, and then kind of going forward from there. So we waited at least 5 years to have our child. But I just looked at those guys, my cousin who had, I think he's got like 4 kids and like 3 different women. I'm just like, okay, man, like how and why? And it's just, this conversation kind of goes around and around in a circle.
Yeah, in my family, I'm myself, my sister, and a couple of my cousins. We're the youngest in our generation. All my cousins they're all in their 40s, pushing 50, and I'm in my 30s. And because their parents had them when they were teenagers,
Okay.
so they were really young when they pushed them out. And so, but they all of them, like their parents, all ended up teenage parents. And they have multiple kids. A couple of my cousins, has like 3, 4. I think one of my cousins has like 5 or 6 kids, and I think 3 of them are at least girls. And again, and he has like 2 or 3, baby mamas, if you will. And it's just like, him and I sat down a few years back and just kind of talked, and I just always asked him, like, dude, like, why did you just go out here, just have all these kids with these different women? And you really, what is it that you can do for these kids at this point? Because I mean, these girls are out here, they don't really have that fatherly guidance, because you're not really around, because the mother does all this crazy stuff and you all hate each other or whatever. I mean, like, what purpose did that serve you?
Yeah.
So I have a question. Would you say that, I guess at the time, that the younger people were having these kids because, I mean, more by accident, or they wanted children?
That's a good question. I honestly can't answer. I can at least say, probably for my cousin, I think his first one was definitely by accident. The last two I know he had, I think those were intentional. But I think the woman that he was with was probably not the ideal choice.
Gotcha. Because
Yeah, I don't know if I can necessarily answer that one as well. I would probably argue that most black children born these days are probably oops babies.
Yeah.
That would be my argument. Um,
I have to dissect or split it down the middle somewhere and say, I don't know, the middle-aged women seem more open to just having that oops baby.
Mm.
Like that's their plan. The
well,
younger
because
one, go
yeah,
ahead, go ahead.
no, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The
What's the
younger
oops
ones,
baby for the guy in that scenario?
yeah, no, I see it. Like I was saying in the chat earlier, I decided to jump on these dating apps, and my God, they're aggressive, very aggressive. I find when they're successful, they're even more aggressive. And if you're a man who has his stuff together, then they're extra aggressive. I mean, straight up within a few days, they're asking to meet you at your place because they want to scope out your life and see how everything is. And then they're already throwing marriage and kids at you. They don't even wait anymore.
Yes. So, like I said, there was one I want. Let's see. Now, I was introduced to her by my family, and we met up. And after we ended up doing the deed, she came out to visit for a weekend, and that's when she pretty much had her whole thing was okay. Yep, you're marriage material. Here's our timeline. I move in, we get married, we have our first child. Slow down.
Like, damn.
Yeah, nah, I got something similar. I mean, within the few hours of us talking, she jokingly said something, and I mentioned, man, I should just send you my resume. And she's like, yeah, send it. So I sent her
Forward
my
it to the
resume.
HR department.
She's looking over my resume, and it I've never ever encountered a woman so intense before. Like I said, within like 4 days, she invited herself to my place. We sat together, and she did her work. I did her work. I mean, I did my work, and she made plans for dinner. Invited me to a Christmas party with her family next week or 2 weeks from now, whenever the hell it is. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? This is one of
Well,
six. This is one of six. So
well,
it's
I think it's just also important to note that for women, despite the talk you hear out in popular culture about, women being in the workforce, enjoying their work life, getting advanced degrees and doctorates or whatever, understand something. Women are still driven by biological imperatives. There is no amount of psychology or degrees that they can get that will ever take away from that.
yeah.
They are still driven by their biological imperative to have children.
Right.
That
And
that
so,
is a wholly ingrained part of not just their psychology, but their biology in general. Their bodies remind them that, hey, you know, you ain't got too many years left before you can pump out you won't be able to you'll be able to pump out a baby.
I mean,
Okay.
and you got to understand though, man. That's the thing is though. That's not something for men to reconcile. Number one, right?
Yeah.
It's not, and I think what ends up happening is that men are too concerned about this. They're too concerned about like a woman's body and what she's choosing to do with it, right? I mean, I have to. Look, in order for me to really sort of live a life of sanity, I can't really try to figure out why everybody does what they do,
Agreed.
right? What I can only do is assume that you're making the best decisions for you. Okay. Now, if your body's been telling you things this whole time, right? And you were deciding to do something else, okay. There's going to come a time when your body's going to be like, dude, I've been trying to tell you this whole time, right? And at that moment, it is only then where that person is going to have to reconcile what's going on, right? Now, with this understanding, you as a man, you have to just inherently know that that's the case. That's why it's an oops baby for you, not
And an
so much
intended
for.
pregnancy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, and
Yeah.
that's absolutely correct. And again, there have been so many studies that have shown exactly the types of which parts of the brain light up when women get around babies, when they hold a baby, when they get around children. I mean, again, women can just naturally lactate just from holding a baby. That doesn't happen with men.
Hmm.
Now, I want to say something about men and babies. Now, this is very interesting. When my daughter was born, you know, so, she would cry a lot. My wife, she'd be in the room with us. My wife would actually get up, leave the room, go to another room, and go to sleep, and leave me alone with the baby.
Oh,
She's like, look, one of us got to get some sleep, and it's gonna be me.
No, we were rotating.
And
We,
so,
we were rotating shifts, man. But I don't know, man. When she was born, I was always up. So
yeah, I was up.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, so apparently I was much better at dealing with the actual baby component. I could do the late night feedings and the changings. My body could function on less sleep. So
I have a question for the fathers on the panel. By the way, this is Ajisa. What's up,
yeah, what's
everybody?
going on, Jutsu?
I'm chilling, chilling. I got
what's
a
going on,
question
man?
though. Dr. Phoenix, what's up? Um, did it register to you guys that, hey, I'm a father once the baby got there, or once you found out you were expecting? In the sense that, uh, like, when did you consciously start making, like, or subconsciously start making different decisions? Like, you weren't living or acting as a single man anymore, or a childless man. Was it
Well,
once you saw the child, or once you knew the child was coming?
well, no, that would be the scenario that you're faced with in the event an oops baby happens. Okay, when you plan it out,
Hmm.
you kind of know when you're doing the sex thing, because my daughter's now up, so I gotta watch my mouth. When you're doing that whole activity
Yeah.
that causes conception and all that, okay, when you're doing that with the intent, then you're kind of purposely doing it, right? So it's more of a, when it's that way, it's more of a like, wow, okay,
Well, I say it
right.
in the sense that, okay, so you're not a high school graduate until you graduate high school. So, are you walking around thinking you're not, meaning that there's no baby to physically think about when it's not there and you're not carrying it.
Hmm.
So, in the back of your mind, because I have friends like this, and I always ask them, I was like, man, like, because certain things they'll say, oh, they're motivated, like, oh, I got a kid now, I gotta do, I gotta make sure I follow through with this, whatever I'm doing.
Yeah.
In the back of your mind, when you were expecting, did you consider yourself a father, or you really didn't until the child came?
No,
okay,
you go ahead, Johnny. You got it.
okay. Well, I'm gonna at least say from my personal experience. Okay, so my daughter was not born at term. My daughter was born at 27 weeks.
She was premature.
Premature. Yeah.
Okay.
So if Doc Phoenix, I'm sure he can probably tell you what that actually looks like. But my daughter could almost, fit in the palm of my hand. Okay.
Oh, that's
Wow.
tiny.
Yeah. So
Weighed like 1 pound.
she was 2.2.
Oh wow.
I still remember. So for me, I think that was there was the moment we found out my wife was pregnant. Okay. So that was kind of, so I'm saying it came in stages.
Yeah.
So there's the initial moment of pregnancy. Yes, you're happy. Okay. But then, when your baby's born, now when your baby's born, not at term, you have a whole new set of variables now.
Yep.
At this point, you're just hoping your child is going to survive. Okay. And that's where I was. Finally, she gets through, she comes home, and, in your mind, a lot of things kind of begin to happen. And I think the one thing for me that, seeing my daughter home, me holding my daughter, I think that was like the real wake up moment. Because at that time, I wasn't really like really serious about my career. I was in the military, but I was just kind of coasting along for a little while. But when I had my daughter when my daughter was born, that's when my career went into high gear. I got back on my focus. I got to my bachelor's degree. and I started getting promoted. That's when my focus changed. When my daughter was born. That I think.
So once you knew you were okay, I'm a father now.
Yeah, but like I said, but for me, it came in
It's
stages.
stages.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens in stages, man. That's why I was like, it doesn't. It's not like a. I was like, the only way it happens, like what you're talking about, is when it's a oops baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
If
would agree
it's
with that.
yeah, if it's the other way around, it happens in stages. That's why I was like, no, you haven't you've already set you intended to do it, right? So you now have really sort of set the expectations. You haven't you This is the first time you've done it, so you can't say you have the experience, but you already have like set yourself up for the expectations because you already decided to do it versus you kind of living your life, right? And it's taken one trajectory, and then all of a sudden you get that call, right? Now it's on a trajectory, dude, where just a couple minutes ago, you were never even thinking that, right?
Now,
So there's a it's the schism is a little bit different depending on the situation, how it came about. Go ahead, Johnny.
I was gonna say, Ajiza, also when we found out my wife was pregnant, I don't think we weren't necessarily planning to have a child at that moment. So I don't know if I necessarily consider it to be an oops baby, but it wasn't necessarily planned.
Well,
Right.
it was in the confines of wedlock. So
Yeah. So
you can't. Not saying wedlock is everything, but
Yeah.
I think there's
because
a
I'll
structure
tell you
that.
this: at the time my wife got pregnant, she wasn't ready to have a child just yet. She wanted to wait like another year, another 6 months to a year. But
Well, I'm of the opinion that I personally believe men should not be having sex with women that you don't intend to have a child with.
Yep.
Agree 100%.
That is my opinion.
That's kind of on. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I'm of that opinion personally. I would not personally be not.
Same way.
I guess men do. People do have sex for recreation, all that, and that's fine and well. But again, you always run the risk at any given time that she can end up pregnant. And so, if that's ever the case, are you ready for fatherhood?
right,
Because there's a
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
to
it's
say
very
that, to say
unlikely
that,
she's gonna have an abortion. I mean, even if you would account for the fact that about a third of all pregnancies end in miscarriage, but again, that honestly, I think that's not the biggest
well,
problem for black men.
shouldn't you edit what you just said and say you shouldn't have unprotected?
No.
Because
No,
No.
and I
No.
tell you why. Because I think this is part of fatherhood. Fatherhood is also and as complex and Johnny Blaze had been mentioning numerous times earlier. This is about discipline and being controlled.
Yeah.
Again, you black men should understand that yes, even sex with protection quote can still result in a pregnancy.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah.
Again, plenty of people have gotten pregnant when they claim, oh well, she was on the pill, she was on birth control, I
Yep.
use condoms. It happens all the time. I've seen it all. I've seen it too many damn times.
Yep.
And
well,
so again,
there is
I think anytime you have sex, it needs to be in the back of your head. You do run the risk of her getting pregnant. It
Yes,
should always
sir.
be in the back of your head.
the reason why I said that is because I'm not actively in a relationship, but and I'm really not doing anything right now. But sometimes I think and I look, I think one guy, Mr. He was talking about dating apps, and you look, and you just like the pickings are kind of slim. So it's almost like hey, this is just something for the moment. If I might say so myself, it's like okay, you know, um,
And I think arguably, Ajisa, I think that is the reason why you have such the high out of wedlock birth rate that you
I
see.
mean, there's a cause and a effect to all of this, man.
Yeah.
I think arguably you can say this is exactly why you see such high single motherhood rates
I,
in
I understand. I
in
understand.
black
I'm not.
society.
I
Because
totally understand.
because most
Okay,
folks
I
say, well,
understand.
I wasn't in a relationship, we weren't serious, we were just messing around, we were playing around.
and there you go.
She was in the back of my car, and one thing led to another. Here we are 9 months later. Here's a baby. And and to what Johnny Blaze mentioned a few moments ago, and this is part of the reason why it's so important for brothers to have your shit together when you do,
Mhm.
in the event that you do get her pregnant. Because
Yeah.
again, you want to create a scenario where, yeah, being in the military is a stressful life. You do run, especially black women, run the high risk of preterm labor.
Man, you want to know how much my that bill cost for my daughter?
I don't even want to know,
Oh
bro.
my God! Because I could tell you
I,
what ours cost, and we were
you
relatively.
running 10, 15, 20, depending on where you're at, it can run anywhere between 10 to 15, 20 grand a day just to keep a baby in the intensive care unit, depending on where you're at.
Yep.
And so I think people think that, and this is the other part about fatherhood. Fatherhood costs. Children are an investment.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And that there are costs that comes with fatherhood. And then so again, this is part of the conversation where, being a father starts long before that baby ever comes to term, or when the egg is fertilized by the sperm. No, it starts when you, the man, decide that, yeah, I'm gonna be in the best position possible before I even engage with any kind of relations with a woman.
You
Yeah.
know, I kind of, especially now when you really sit down and start thinking about it, because, um, I mean, I can afford to have one. I'm not where I want to be in life, just based on where I put myself or where I see myself. I'm not where I want to be. Um, but I'm 36 going on 37, man. I start thinking, man, I don't want to be in my 40s and having my first kid, or going close to my 50s. I mean, because I
Well,
don't see myself. Go ahead.
I'm gonna say that this is one of the things that we talked about in our little outline. And this is why health is so important. Right now I'm 47 years old, man. I'm still, before I left the military, I was in my, early 40s. When I would go out and do my PT test, man, I could smoke half these guys in their 20s. Before I ever had my
Well,
first kid.
but there's still. I
Okay,
mean, you
what I'm
start
trying to say,
losing muscle mass at a certain age. You're less
yes,
testosterone, so it's still
that
there's
part is
still a
true.
phys. Yeah.
But
That
you still can be in great shape. And I mean, I know some guys in their 50s, man. These guys look great.
Well,
They're
and
in
that's the
good
thing. That's the difference between men and women. And sorry about that, Johnny Blaze,
shape.
because I understand exactly what Johnny Blaze is getting at. A perfectly healthy male, no matter his age, can produce perfectly viable
Healthy
sperm to the
children.
day he dies.
Of
Yep.
course, that's not what I'm talking about. But when
But
of
I
at
understand what
50
you're saying.
years
If
old,
you
at 50 years old, talking to a 10-year-old,
Okay.
or chasing around a 10-year-old, or when you're 60, and your son is 15 and he wants to, you're trying to teach him football. I don't know, just like certain things. Like, I mean, I don't want to get into too many details, but I've seen firsthand when you're an older. I mean, there's all this talk on the internet about being older men will stay in their primes, and I don't say anything, but I think a lot of guys are misled to think that, oh, I'm
when
gonna
do you
be.
think most of your working, all your non-black professionals, when do you think they have children?
Yeah, I'm curious
You
to.
know, that's funny, and it's funny though. I know a couple people usually in the around their mid 30s. That's when they start. The males that I know start
Most
having
of your
kids.
most of your working professionals tend to have children late 30s, early
Early
40s.
40s.
If you
Yeah.
Oh,
go to
really?
most of your affluent, if you go to just about any affluent neighborhood in this country, what's the first thing you see? You see a bunch of 30-some-year-old women, usually in their mid late 30s, non-black women, pushing strollers, jogging, running, doing whatever, right? And when what do you see? You see the men, usually salt and peppered hair, salt and peppered beard,
Yep.
and they're carrying around babies.
And they
Yeah,
got
but
a
That's
big
how it is.
car.
Because
I
why?
don't necessarily
Because those
want to do the 1.2 or 2.3 children, America 2-car garage. I mean, I would want at least four. I mean,
Well,
that's a
dude, this
lot.
is this is here's the thing, man. Like, this is purely your imperative as a man. I mean, I'm not sure why. you're kind of looking at what others with others. I now I'll tell you like this, just from a lot of the circles that I'm in, right? Like the dudes who do things like you know, put their kids in like motorsports and karting, right? So like some of my clients, for example, okay, these are guys in their 50s whose kids are like 10, 11, 12 years old. But what you have to understand is that at that level, he's in his early 50s, so he has more money to invest in activities into his son. Okay, because of where he's at as a man, he can put his son in different activities, right, that groom and mold him to do the non-typical things, right? This is what you're afforded to do as a father when you kind of
Yeah,
you kind of have all of your shit laid out. You're
and I
more
understand that.
free. So this is well, okay. So what you're weighing and leveraging here
I guess I'm looking at the
is
previous generation.
well,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
but what I'm telling you is that it only helps to look at what's gonna fit best for your life's outlook. Listen, I would say that given what it was that my dad has done, in my view, for his age, he did it pretty good, right? I got to give it to him. Now, do I see what he did fitting me and my lifestyle going into the future? Not exactly. I got to do what works for me, right? See, so what you have to do is you have to be unwavering in how you see your life panning out, how you see that plan unfolding, and you only incorporate the women who fit into it. So, it goes back to what Dr. Phoenix was saying. You should, if you're going to approach like sex, you should have sex in mind with the thought of what I if this person ended up being pregnant, would I be okay with it? That's the question you should ask yourself. If the answer is no, do not do it under
Yep.
no circumstance.
Yep.
It'll save you a lot of trouble. That was the question I
That's a,
always asked myself in my 20s. Dude, look, this chick's trying to see what's up with you. Like, if she came up with it, said,
can you
look,
but can you really know if you really want to have? I mean, even
Yeah. Yeah,
after
you can tell.
are
for
you,
about a month or so, are you
Yeah.
serious?
well, wait. Okay, so you're putting the cart before the horse. And this is what I mean. I mean, do you just go around jumping off the cliff before you know how deep the fall is?
Well, if you're in your early 20s and you're meeting somebody, I mean, first of all, yeah, I think the first thing is going to be attraction. Oh, she looks good, she whatever, and then you're talking to y'all are talking. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like
Let me jump in
you're
here.
right. Dr. Phoenix is very correct. I mean, in a perfect world, but I just don't think that's really feasible.
What was that, Mr. Heat?
Yeah, let me jump in
Go
here.
ahead.
I wanted to speak on what Dr. Phoenix said about not risking sleeping with women you're not comfortable getting pregnant. Because again, no matter how much protection you use, we've seen it happen over and over again. Sometimes it just fails. Um, I'm only 30 years old, and I don't sleep with every woman who offers me sex. I don't care how good they look, how attracted I am to them. I let them all know the same thing. I need to know you. I need to know I'm comfortable enough with you, and you're not crazy. Too many of us have this in our mind that we should
I
just
didn't. I didn't say jump in and sleep with every woman that offers it to you. I'm just saying even the ones that you even the ones that you whittle down. I mean, it's to say that I'm okay because when you say are you okay having a baby with this woman? I'm thinking, are you okay having a baby and marrying this woman so that this child can grow up in a
No,
stable?
Ajisa, do you know the purpose of sex?
Yes, I do.
Is it's reproduction. Please tell me you know that the purpose of sex is reproduction, right?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so you just know that every time you do that, you're basically doing the very thing that makes humans. We have to kind of grasp like the magnitude of what the outcomes of sex can potentially be. Now,
yeah.
once you have grasped the magnitude of this, you will be far more discerning about
Yes.
the risk and what you do with your penis.
Yep.
And look, I mean, look, you have to have the mindset that your sperm is worth millions of dollars.
Yep.
Okay, You have to have that mindset. If you think in terms of like, this is some valuable shit in my testes right about now, right? I can't screw this up. Once men adopt that mindset, they're not gonna be so quick to just go bust off in anything.
Yeah, it can make you
Okay,
$1 million or lose your $1 million.
your choice. It's your
No,
choice.
and I think that perfectly highlights what Mr. Heat was saying earlier about a woman he met. She just had this checklist of things that these requirements that she needed a man to meet. He met them, and okay, well, let's do it. And there's no other qualifier. And so, you as a man, you should always be discerning and understanding that you need to be probing this woman, asking her stuff,
Yeah.
asking her the
Figuratively,
questions.
not literally.
Not
Yeah,
literally.
yeah.
I recall somebody in the chat saying that they're dating a lawyer, but
That was me.
that's oh, that was you. Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah,
but I
that was
think you
Mr.
said
Heat.
that was one of other women you were
6.
seeing. Six.
Right.
Okay. So that's a perfect example. So because I didn't want to just jump out and say it. So you're seeing six other women right now. Are
Yeah.
you okay with either six? With all six of them, you're saying, okay, you're telling yourself, I can see myself. It's okay if this woman has my child. Each of these, not each of them, but one of them. Like each of these women are qualified to bear my child. Are you saying that?
They're not all qualified. I'm in the
Okay,
stage
then.
right,
So you just proved my point.
but I'm not sleeping with them.
No, there's no point
Oh,
because he's not sleeping with him.
I'm not
So,
sleeping
geez,
with them.
let me say this, man.
okay. You're not
You
sleeping
know,
with them. Okay.
when you date, there is what I call a growth component. That's why, like both me and Complex, we were both married for several years before our kids came along.
Yep.
You know, we felt that these individuals had something that we could work with. There's a similar interest. When you go out here and you date I'll use my nephew, for instance. He's a young man. He's in his mid-20s. Now, he has two children, him and his wife, but they dated during college for several years. So these two individuals, they've been married for 4 years, but they've been together for 7. So they know each other, their families know each other. There's that component there. What you don't want to do is try to turn sex into a relationship. And I think that's what some individuals, both men and women, try to do this. They end up meeting, they have sex. Okay, now we're together.
Now we're
And some
together.
women
Right.
who have tried to use that scenario. And I was talking about a woman who had this timeline of us getting together, getting married. After I pretty much said, no, this is not going to happen, this woman went out and married a guy 6 months later.
Like
Okay.
marriage was it
Like,
for her, man.
Well, hold
There
on.
was no, yeah.
It gets even stranger.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it
She
became a
married a
means
guy.
to an end.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
wait a minute. I need to hear this stranger part.
Yeah. So she marries the guy 6 months later. I see some crap on Facebook about it. Then maybe 2 months after that, they're getting the marriage annulled. Okay.
Holy shit. I need
Hold
some
up,
more
get stranger.
coffee.
There's more.
Oh, God. Go ahead.
Then about a year and a half to 2 years later, she's pregnant.
By him?
No, I don't know who buying, but that was
Oh,
her whole point, was to have a baby.
Dude, she was
Yeah.
on a tear, bro. It was just
That
like,
was the
one of
mission.
you MFs is going to do this.
I
Yes.
think you're talking about my ex, bro.
Jesus.
Similar story, not even lying to you. Everything you just mentioned happened with her. Everything you just mentioned.
Yeah. And so I guess what I'm saying here is, I've ended 2 relationships, with women, because I realized, okay, we're doing our thing, but I found out that, something about them just didn't seem right in casual conversation, their
Yep.
behavior. I
Yep.
had to cut this off. Like, because what's going to happen is I'm going to like having sex with them. I'm going to want to continue to have sex.
And
But that's
something's
when that
going to
self-control
happen.
comes in. Like, wait a minute. The sex with you may be good, and that's in the short-term game, but the long term, I'm going to lose something here.
If you know long term you're going to lose something, why bet on the short term?
And that's when you got to walk away.
Thank
Yep.
you.
And I
You,
think
as a
that's
man,
the
as a
most
man,
difficult
you
part for
have
black
to
men.
practice discernment, man. Like
Yes.
men think that I don't like this is why, like, a lot of these manosphere, and we're going to be doing a analysis of the manosphere later, just so you guys do know. because I got some shit to talk about, man. Like some of
I,
the
I
stuff I'm seeing around here is just unbelievable.
I
But
dismiss. Sorry,
huh?
complex.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead, complex.
Oh,
I dismiss
I
more.
was just gonna say real quick that you know, there again, there's this notion or an assumption that it's really not about like your own personal practices, right? I'm like this, man. Look, my own personal practices, what that shit ensures, it ensures the outcomes that I want. Like now, you can get to going back and forth about women and what they choose to do and all that. All I know is I'm not participating in the bullshit. So at least I know that my outcomes are going to be what it is that I want them to be. And that's what I do have control over. And as soon as men understand this, okay, they can avoid a lot of stuff,
Agreed.
right? But as long as sex is the pervading driver of black culture, forget about it. It's an
Yeah.
individual impetus.
Yeah,
It
I have
becomes
a
an
big, I
individual
have a big,
impetus.
I have a big problem with that too.
I
You can have a
dismiss.
problem with it, but go ahead, Mr. Heat.
No, I just wanted to say I dismiss a lot more women than I accept.
There you
It's
go.
just plain, just that
And I
simple.
think that's part of the, and I think this is also the other part of just black fatherhood, just really black manhood in general, is being able to just say no.
Yeah.
Like just
Yep.
walk away. You know if you get with this woman, you know who she is. And black men seem to have this problem, especially getting with baby mamas. If you're not, first thing, if you meet these women, they have kids with other men, and you're not asking them about the baby's father, the children's father, you are wrong from the get-go.
Yep.
You need to know what the hell happened with those children's father, because that is the proof of what she's going to do to you.
All right.
I
I have
mean,
a
I
question.
don't understand. I don't understand for the life of me. Why do so many brothers get caught up in this game and with fatherhood with women who you knew just from what you saw what she did with the previous baby fathers, that she was no good. I don't understand that. And so that's why you get some of these conversations that I've heard in the space over the past year, about child support and all this other craziness, and the women this, and I'm like, and again, if the perennial driver for black relationships is just, hey, we just need to talk so we can have sex. That's it. That if
Yeah.
that's the perennial driver, then it's the very reason why you see the monumental failures in black society that are present today.
Well, to add to that,
Yeah,
Dr. Phoenix, that now it's now become transactional, right? So now relationships are all about who's quote unquote high value and who the hell isn't. And now it's become we what we've done is fiscal policy, I guess, has now become the primary criteria for analyzing who is a suitable mate or some shit. I mean, it's this is it's dude, like Johnny Blake, like early on. And you know what? I'm gonna have to literally shut this down in about 15 minutes because it'll be 2.5 hours, and I got to get breakfast. Damn. Uh, okay. The whole point is that early on, Johnny Blaze and we were talking, and we were saying as brothers who were married sometime before the child happened, we kind of did it the traditional way, and then we kind of saw a similar outcome here, which kind of resulted in us being widowed fathers. And oh shit, I see Dr. Tiosan Johnson in the chat.
Yes.
I want to
Welcome,
salute to
doctor.
him because, from my understanding, he's experienced a similar situation with same as myself and Johnny Blaze. So
I wanted to
um,
ask a question on that. I know we
yeah, yeah,
shut
go
down
ahead,
in
go ahead, go
15
ahead.
minutes, and I
Yeah,
just
yeah, go
wanted
ahead.
to ask. I never talked to my father about this part of his life, but he lost my mom right after having twins.
Hmm.
Um, I never talked to him about what it was like. It scares the crap out of me thinking about what he had to experience. Like I said, he had what four or five other young kids, and now two new one. His wife's gone. What was the first month or few months was like after that happened for you guys? I guess when it
Uh,
happened.
You want to go first?
yeah, I'll go first. I think for me, because, well, my wife, she was diagnosed with cancer like literally 3 months
Mhm.
after she gave birth, which basically suggested that she was precancerous right around the time of conception, right? So, literally from about 2 to 3 months after our daughter's birth onward, um, it was one of these things where once I found out, it was almost as if it was like one of my worst fears was actually, and now it's face to face one of my worst fears, right? So it was really like a 3 year fight, and I think when it got to around October 2014, that was really where I had to like adjust my mind to say, okay, I have to get ready. I have to get ready, basically, right? So I had a lot of time to contemplate that reality, right? And so when it happened, I think I did a lot of mental preparation. Now, Johnny, I don't know your situation. I don't know if it's similar or a little bit different.
Mine was a little bit different. My wife's death was very sudden. It was kind of unexpected.
Okay, okay.
She hung on for a few days and passed. But I'll say that first month or 2 months, first 2 months, you know, I took some time off from work. I took 2 weeks off, and I took my daughter, and we just did a bunch of like trips.
Hmm.
We just went to a bunch of different places during that 2 weeks. But I'll say for me, it was kind of in a couple of stages again. I began to drown myself in work.
Yep,
That
yep.
was kind of, that was kind of the one thing that kind of was work for me was always like my refuge,
Hmm.
so to speak. But I'm a big anime watcher, and particularly like Dragon Ball Z, Naruto kind of thing. So I found a lot of comfort in watching those things and trying to draw upon like how those characters rebuild themselves. So that was a lot of times that is my inner mechanism that I use. If that makes any sense to you,
No,
that's
it
what I.
does, man. Because
What,
I
you know,
did. That was what I basically, man. I took 2 weeks off work.
mhm.
Right, I took 2 weeks off. Uh, I was literally working up to the day like she passed, and then I said, "Look, I need to just take some time off to handle this." And I was back in 2 weeks, and then I was working, and I was getting ready to relocate back to California. Got back to California. It was much like what you said, man. It just me and my daughter just started. We just became beach bums, and we just started hanging out at the beach, man, because that's where her mom and I used to like to hang out. So we just go to the beach and just kick it, man. And we just stayed at the beach all the time. And then what I did was one day, dude, something just hit me, man. And it was just like, bro, you need to go racing because you've been wanting to do it your whole life. And pretty much now is the time to do it because you're literally sitting here like just wondering where life is going to go. And so if you want it to go anywhere, it may as well go somewhere that you've always dreamed about it going. May as well.
I
And that's
think
what I did.
I think as black men, I think we oftentimes underestimate just how powerful of a motivator loss is, depression,
Hmm.
and really just um what we see as our own really mortality. Because again, as Complex explained, and him and I have talked about this, privately,
Yeah.
and and again, this is scenarios where his wife, they found out shortly after she gave birth she had cancer. Usually the first cancer cells in a body, the ones that proliferate to full-blown cancers, usually appear about 5 to 10 years before. So your body kills cancer cells every day, pre-cancer cells as well. But again, you have those that become resistant, and eventually they go undetected. by the body's immune system. And so what I'm getting at here, what I'm getting here with this point is essentially that you know, there comes a time in every man's life where you're faced with loss, you're faced with failure, defeat, or whatever that may be. And again, understanding that how do you bounce back from those particular situations? I've had failures and stuff like that in my own life. There was a brother that I was mentoring, that I told him, like, yeah, before before I applied to medical school, man, I failed organic chemistry. And, and I talked about, you like, yeah, because this is the class that, like, yeah, I took it like a decade ago, and like I was like, oh yeah, man, I was gonna do this, I was gonna be the bomb at it, and yeah, I failed it like a boss, and then I turned around, took it, a little while later, took it a few years later, and aced it. And again, I think that shows where you have to have that personal growth and that motivation, understanding that for all men, you have those setbacks, you have those personal setbacks, and you might have those economic setbacks or those academic setbacks. But again, it's all about how do you bounce back from, and what does it teach you in the end.
Right. Let me address a couple of comments here real quick. Lance said, "Do you guys have any fatherhood resources that you could recommend to help me prepare during this pregnancy stage? My first is due in May." First of all, Lance, congrats to you, brother. Um, I don't have any direct resources because my daughter's 9, man. I really looked at it, but I'll tell you like this: we're resources. You know
Well,
what I
I was
mean? Yeah, but I mean, outside of like brothers like us that with these type of venues here where you could directly interact with us, I would say, man, use us as a resource. Additionally, you got brothers like Dr. Phoenix.
Yeah,
well,
agreed.
one of the first things I would just always caution any black man, um, especially just simply because you know I'm just assuming you're the woman carrying your child is black. I'm just assuming that. One of the things you should always be looking out for as a black man is you want to look for some of those early signs, any complications of the pregnancy. You know, um, but I'll just be really frank. If there's any excessive bleeding, if she's having some real lower abdominal pain, stuff like that. But just in general, you want to make sure she's on a if she's if she should be getting seen regularly by an OB-GYN.
Right.
So she should be on prenatal vitamins and should be getting seen regularly by OB-GYN. And also, I would supplement her diet with some iron rich foods with folic acid, like spinach and kale or something like that.
Isn't
I will I,
fish oil important?
Yeah, I would say
Like
that,
they
but definitely for women, folic acid is probably good sources for folic acid are is probably the most important thing to supplement their diet with. Because again, a lot of birth defects tend to happen within those first and second trimesters, specifically that first trimester, which is
and
usually where you
that's due to like nutrient
yeah, you can have nutrient
deficiency, right? Yeah.
deficiencies, a lot of the stress. If she's taking anything, a
Hmm.
lot of substances can pass across the placenta. So again, and that's typically where you run that high risk of having a miscarriage is usually within that first trimester.
Right.
Although late term miscarriages are common as well. But in general, I would say keep an eye on her health in general. If you want a solid resource, want some solid advice, keep an eye on her health. Just pay attention to her.
Mm.
Definitely keep an eye on the blood pressure, because that's another very common issue. Again, assuming if she's a black woman, that you should definitely be looking out for. That would be my advice.
Okay.
That's preeclampsia, right?
Yeah,
Wait.
you definitely. I think in general because black women tend to be at higher risk for preeclampsia and blood clotting disorders. You definitely want to be looking out for that. So
Okay. Well, let's do this, man. Let's get some final thoughts here. I got to go get breakfast ready here for my little one. I have another live stream scheduled in a couple hours. See, like weekends, just heads up going forward. Weekends will probably be the times where we really do a lot of like the live streams now. Uh, During the week, it's a little bit hard for me to kind of get the time to just get it all together how I would like to. But I'll try to squeeze them in. I'll try to squeeze them in during the week. However, during the weekends, we will just kind of be just streaming, like doing these open chats or space and text and blockchain. And tomorrow, I got a cannabis one lined up, and I was going to do a tech one tomorrow. If any of you is still in the chat, we were going to kind of talk, technical skill trades and all that, because he's a union electrician. So we did want to get back on the skilled trades discussions. And so it's just been a slow rebooting of things, but it's really just been like getting the back end stuff together. You guys notice we got some 24/7 live streams cracking. If you haven't checked it out, we have our archives streaming 24/7. We also have a curation of Black documentaries, and that's just an ongoing thing. So like a little bit later, I'll be kind of have some more I'm going to be adding in to the documentary playlist, and it's just rotating 24/7. So one of the things that we're moving into 2021 is basically just having a full information bureau type of thing going on, where there's always something going on in the brain trust. Right, there's either going to be 24/7 streaming, or we're going to be having these kind of conversations. But this is where we're pushing. So you want to know what the hiatus was about, man? It's just reassessing like how we want to try to carry out what we started. And sometimes you got to recalibrate, look at maybe what can we do to improve, make those adjustments, and then get it popping again. So y'all even want to just anything to put on in before we shut it? Wait, hold on. Damn. I was just reading Dr. Tia Johnson's comment, man. Fuck.
Yeah, maybe
I might. Damn, I'm sorry, brother.
Yeah, I just saw that.
Yeah, damn.
Maybe it could be something that maybe I can address at some point.
Okay.
Because I think that goes with the other brother's question about what could he do to prepare. And I think the best thing outside of just making sure you're financially prepared, because I'm not sure if brothers are aware, it's gonna run you about 20 to 30 grand for a baby delivery.
Even if you do it at the county hospital?
Hell yeah. Somebody
no, because county hospitals are usually,
it might not be you, but someone's gonna pay that bill.
Somebody got to pay for it.
No, but the county hospital is usually cheaper than
even then, man. You're talking on the cheap end, man. 20, 30 grand. If you tack on an epidural, man, that's at least another 5, 10.
I used to work at this hospital, and it was like it was known. It was like 6 grand max, but they ended up closing. They had to close that ward down, so I guess they weren't making money. But yeah, it was 6 grand, and this was back in like 2016, 17. It was like 6-7 grand people were paying.
So, man, my daughter's bill, once it all came down, Nikki, $200,000.
That's about right.
Ooh.
That's about right.
We'll see.
Like I was saying earlier.
Now that's the NICU.
See, as a high value man, you can pay that. So I'm joking.
No, thank God I had military.
No, that's it's called high value insurance.
High value insurance. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
That TRICARE, right?
You better believe
high value insurance.
TRICARE Prime is a lifesaver. I tell you. Nah, again, and I think that's the other part to the brother's question to Dr. Tia Johnson's statement. Again, one of the best things brothers can do to be prepared if you have a pregnant significant other is just not just really necessarily financial component of it, but just being observant of what's happening with her. Understand that, again, if you have, assuming again this is a black woman, understand that black women tend to carry higher risk for some of these major complications during pregnancy: bleeding, blood clot disorders, hypertension, also called preeclampsia. Again, there's a very famous story out there of a black woman who she experienced preeclampsia that progressed to eclampsia, and she experienced multi-system organ failure.
Ugh.
And again, she was in the hospital for almost a year before she was out actually able to go home. So you can only imagine what that bill is like. And what I'm
I think
saying for brothers, if you're paying attention to the women you're with while they're pregnant, you can start to notice those little subtle changes and you can catch them early.
I think
And
go
and
ahead.
and again, that becomes key. Again, some of that early bleeding very early in a pregnancy,
Not
especially
good.
if it starts to get excessive, can is a it's a big sign that's not something you should ignore.
I think Serena Williams had it. She became a spokesperson for it because she had a similar experience
Yeah, she
to
had
when
multiple
she threw
pulmonary
clots.
embolisms.
Yeah, she was throwing pulmonary clots, and then she was saying as which is crazy because you would think that she would get the best care, that she would have the money to get the best care, but she was,
It's sometimes it's not even. It's about your precondition. Sometimes that's what Dr. Phoenix is saying. It's what there's things that actually kind of give us a heads up. I
Yeah,
think
and I think part of and
yeah,
that's also part of that conversation that you should be having with a woman, any black man. You need to talk about each of respective medical histories, because this is something that doesn't really get talked about like that in black society. But most black folks don't have a damn clue about what the hell went on medically in their family. So this is how you get black men end up with prostate cancer at 36 years old and don't understand that, like, yeah, most likely you got it that early because you had a family history of it. Your father may have had it, your grandfather may have had it, uncles may have had it. And again, same thing with black women. You end up with breast cancer at 34, 35 years old. And I know a couple women right now who are that age that have breast cancer.
Right.
And
So,
and they get the really serious version of it, which is the triple negative, which virtually does not respond to pretty much most medical treatments at all. And those tend to be those that's your deadliest form of breast cancer. And so again, I think when you're having these conversations, and I don't want to derail this because I know Complex has to go, but I'll just lead with this in relation to Dr. Tia Johnson's statement and the other brother's question was that yes, the best thing you can do as a black man is that just be cognizant of who you're getting pregnant, and also when it is there, when you're going through that process, pay attention to what's happening with her, because again, there's all these other things, but I'll just leave it at that for now.
all right. Let's do
Thanks for
this.
having me, brother.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Dr. Phoenix, man, I appreciate you for rolling through. We're back to our regularly scheduled, bro. So, and I'm
Okay.
glad you made it through the finals, man, unscathed.
No, man. Like I said, I've been away for a while. I've been really busy. Took a bunch of exams this week, so I got a little bit of time on my hand. So I just happened to see you guys were streaming, and I saw you and
Yeah,
Johnny Blaze talking about fatherhood, and I think that conversation is applicable to black men that don't have children as well. This
yeah.
conversation is
Hopefully,
applicable to all black.
hopefully they can. Well, there's a few brothers in here that really did have some questions. Lance got he's got one on the way. So hopefully there was a lot he was able to take away from this conversation. And everybody else that dropped in to the chat, man. And the real Dana, I see that she had dropped through here. I appreciate you. She said she was enjoying the conversation, so appreciate you for stopping by. Definitely, Dr. Tia Johnson, because he can actually speak to our experiences as well. He's been there, you know. So and one last thing, I really want to shout out Johnny Blaze because this was actually his idea to have this conversation. He found that there was just a lot of nuance lacking in these Black fatherhood conversations. I 100% agreed with him because of our similar experiences. So we wanted to just go ahead and do this, and so JB, I want to just shout you out, bro. I appreciate this. Let's do this again. Let's
Hey, no,
definitely do
no
this
yeah,
again.
problem.
yeah, good choice, Johnny Blaze.
Yeah,
Great
let's
topic.
let's let's do this again as an ongoing topic.
Okay. Well, hey, I just want to say thank you for having me. And I'm glad we were able to do this. I hope the audience out here will learn something from this. That people like us do exist. Number one, Black men, we are responsible fathers. We're not perfect. We do the best job we can. And I'm going to use a little something from the Equalizer. Progress, not perfection. Lance Powell, congratulations, and hopefully you have a very successful birth. And I think you make a great father out there. And to the gentleman on the panel, just thank you for being here. Appreciate your questions, your comments, and complex. You used a very powerful word earlier, the word discernment. I think that is one thing, Black men, if you don't know what that word means, look it up. Okay. That is a very powerful tool that we have access to that we need to really use.
Absolutely. So check it out. I'm gonna go ahead and shut this down. I think I have the other live stream set for 12. I'm gonna have to push it back to 1. So let's just do this, man. Just kind of be on the lookout for us going live again here early afternoon.
Same channel?
This channel. Well, I say early afternoon. I'm on the West Coast, so it'll be 1 o'clock my time. But if you're on the East Coast, 4 o'clock your time, right? So early, mid afternoon, late afternoon, depending on where you are. Just look for us to be going live. We got to have a conversation. Well, we're gonna take a look at this manosphere space, right? Okay. We're gonna just really look at the subject matter that consumes it, and if we're actually using this medium if we're actually using this medium to our benefit, right? It's an analysis of it, because we did the 2021 live stream, and we really kind of prefaced like what's ahead for this next year coming up in this country. And if you were to contrast that with the conversations that seem to be of the utmost importance in social media, I get the impression there's going to be a lot of people caught like a deer in headlights.
Yes, sir.
Come the first quarter of next year. So I wanna do a deep dive into this Black manosphere.
Is this going to be another open panel as
it's
well?
Open. Yeah. Right. It's open. Yeah, it's open. Okay. All right, man. Let me go ahead and shut it down. I appreciate you guys. And again, just look for us. We'll be back here a little bit later today. Y'all have a good one. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.